what's going on, everybody? Happy, what day is it? Wednesday. Wednesday. What's up, Bob? Hey, guys. I am tuning in this morning, or coming to you this morning from the newsroom to let you know about sort of what I'm going to be doing in the future here. We've been doing weather every day that I've been doing this, and it's fun. And I'll keep doing a little weather forecast every day, but I want to mix in some other things every now and then. I'm still trying to plan exactly what I'm going to do each and every day. But it won't be all weather all the time. Though today's will be mostly weather focused. But I thought it might be a decent idea with winter coming up and lots of questions about the winter outlook and stuff like that. If I kind of break down, let you guys get in my shoes and kind of break down exactly what these big climate features are that I look at when we do something like a winter outlook. And give you a little background about what they are and what they mean here for specifically the DC region, if you're watching from DC, and how it plays a role in our winter and our summer. So today we're going to start with the big one, and that's El Nino La Nina. It's like number one, first thing any forecaster looks at when they're looking at a seasonal outlook. And then after, we'll do things like, and I'm going to say a whole lot of symbols that nobody knows, but we'll do things like the QBO, the NAO, the AO, the PNA. Each day I'll kind of explain what each of those are, so that way when I do forecast in the future, everybody kind of knows what's up, and we can dive right in together when I present something like a summer outlook or a winter outlook, and we'll all be good with what all the terminology means and why a La Nina means this and a El Nino means that, and what a positive and negative NAO is. Again, not going to understand all that symbolism yet, but I'll try and explain it to you in future videos if you know what I mean. So we can all be weather forecasters together, because it's an imperfect science. I mean, honestly, it is. And there's 100 different, everybody's coming out with different winter weather outlooks because there's 100 different ways people like to approach something like a seasonal forecast. So I did my way this year. NOAA has their way. Private forecast companies have their ways. Other stations here have other ways. Capital Weather Gang, I know here locally, just came out with their winter outlook. They went one way. Actually, theirs is really similar to ours, which is always nice to see from my point of view, because if we can get into agreement, then I feel good about the forecast. But we'll see. We're certainly turning cold. Let's start with the live. Sorry about that. Let's start with the live forecast right now and quickly talk about what's going on. I'll make it much faster than I have the past several days, so we can get right into the fun learning part of things. I know sometimes it's boring, but I'll try and not make it boring. We'll put it that way. We'll try and have fun with it. So outside today, we're stuck in the muck once again, cloud-wise here in DC. For the most part, though we do have some sun, and because of the angle of the Earth and the satellite here, it's hard to see. But just off to the north of town here, and let's see if it refreshes for me, there is some clearing. So like the Maryland Panhandle, West Virginia, Northern Maryland, even maybe into Central Maryland a little later on today, we might actually see, there you go, you can see the sunshine breaking through a little bit. Maybe that's up towards Frederick County, Maryland, Washington County, Garrett County. Still looks a little cloudy there in Garrett County, but Virginia socked in, Southern Maryland socked in, and isolated drizzle certainly possible in those locations. See this guy way off. Let me bring it center screen here. That is Tropical Storm Rena, still spinning her way out in the middle of the Atlantic. Not going to affect anything, but always just a constant reminder that hurricane season does indeed go all the way through the month of November. So still tracking a few tropical disturbances. That's the only one right now. And again, Rena's still not expected to really affect anybody. And that front you see, which is that cloud deck right there. Let me get. Oh, sorry. They're doing meetings behind me. I thought we had breaking news. Okay. All right, back to this. Whew, they scared me a little bit there. All right, back to this. We have a front sliding off. That's a cold front that came through DC on Monday. Is going to keep pushing offshore. It will catch the storm and it will throw it out. So no concern there from Rena. Even over towards Ireland, the United Kingdom, all those locations, that storm should mostly stay north of them. Though I'm sure it'll throw some showers and stuff their way. Big story here in DC over the next few days, and let me get my face out of the way so everybody can see this. There we go. Oh, nope. There we go. Okay. There's the big cold air mass coming down from the north and west. Now tomorrow we're still kind of let's get this is this afternoon. Here's tomorrow morning. We're still kind of between this zone right here of some not really milder air, but there's cooler air to the north and there's coolish air to the south, but there's a temperature difference there. And at the same time, you got an area of high pressure sitting up here to the north. There, that's off. I always forget to do that. High pressure sitting up here to the north. So you're pulling in sort of a northerly / northeasterly wind here. And ocean temperatures this time of year are still really warm compared to the cold air mass coming down. So you're pulling it, you're warming the air as it comes off the ocean, but then it's hitting the cool air as it comes on shore. That forces air to rise, and when you force air to rise, you get clouds. So still some cloud threat tomorrow, even more so than I originally thought during the day yesterday. But we do have dry air sitting just off to the north, and if that dry air is able to sink south far enough, we could get into some decent late day sunshine. But I think tomorrow is more of a mostly cloudy kind of day with peaks of sun here and there in D.C. No real weather concerns. Patchy drizzle, I can't totally rule it out, but it's not as prevalent as, say, today it is across portions of southern Maryland. Watch this zone here, though. I'll mark it in red. There's your zone of super cold air. Watch where it comes. Here it comes. Friday morning, Friday afternoon, getting into Saturday morning now. Coldest period of time here is going to be Saturday morning in D.C. You have morning activities. Be prepared for the winter coats, the winter jackets, the gloves. We'll blow and whistle here. We got 15 degrees plus below normal, 15 to 25 degrees below normal on Saturday morning. Temperatures in the 20s when you start your day. It's going to be cold. So dress warm. That's kind of the gist of things. Saturday morning's coldest. Saturday afternoon, we won't make it out of the 40s. Some of our suburbs won't make it out of the 30s. It's going to be chilly. And then as we get into Saturday evening and Sunday morning, we'll slowly moderate a little bit, though Sunday's still really chilly here with most in the 40s, and D.C. may touch 50 if we get a little bit of sunshine. But generally speaking, the difference between Saturday and Sunday is that on Saturday, high pressure is kind of sitting right over us to the north, which will push in the dry air over the landmass. Then the issues become the same that they're going to be tomorrow by the time we get to Sunday. Sunday is here. So Redskins kick off at 1 o'clock, and by that time, high pressure is kind of sitting up here, and you're pushing air off that ocean again. And remember, I mentioned the water temps are warm, so you're going to have some ocean-warmed water, and I say warmed loosely. Let's go. Let's take this real quick. When I say warm, it's warmish compared to the air around it. So again, a little temperature difference is all you need this time of year when you're running into an air mass that's cold to get some clouds, and that easterly wind off the ocean should cloud us up during the day on Sunday. Right now, it doesn't look like any drizzle. I can't 120% rule it out. We'll watch for it. But right now, I think we're okay in the drizzle department for the game. I think it's dry. I just think it's cloudy and chilly. You'll want to dress warm if you're going down the FedEx Field. All right, long-term stuff. Let's look beyond it. This is getting a little closer to Thanksgiving. This is the week of the 18th to the 23rd, and I think the 23rd is Thanksgiving. Signs of whether or not cold air is coming our way. And you'll understand more. I'll go into a little bit of detail here, but it looks like a halfway decent block up towards Greenland. We've talked about blocks in this location before, and what I mean by blocks is just anomalous areas of high pressure in the upper atmosphere. Complicated, I know, but just know that if you have red and you have orange signals up here, heights is what we call them in the meteorology department, but we have abnormally high heights here in the Greenland area. That forces cold air south, and right underneath it is the eastern half of the U.S. And generally speaking, it looks like as things sit right now, we're in for a cooler Thanksgiving. Now, long-term models aren't always the best. This one's only 15 days away, and many models are showing hints that things are going to be a little cool around here on Thanksgiving. How cold? Will it be cool? Will it be cold? Don't exactly know the details yet. I'll tell you this: if the American, and this is the American model, if the American's right, then we're going to be cold. Similar block up here, but the difference being east versus west base. We call it, this is the NAO. This is the NAO region. NAO. Sorry for the horrendous horrendous handwriting there, but I'm just using the mouse here. If it's a west-based NAO, it tends to be more focused in this region. And if it's more focused in this region, you're displacing colder air south. So that's a cold pattern for Thanksgiving if the American version of this model is right. If we go to the European, go back to the European, which is what I showed you before, which I believe is this one, yes. Difference is it's still semi-west space, but there's a little more of an easterly component to it. It's more kind of focused off to the north, and it's a shallower ridge, and the ridge focus is more offshore than here in Washington, D.C. and in the mid-Atlantic. So that's still chilly, but it's not cold. GFS is cold, Euro's chilly. Which one's going to be right? Well, either one be right. We'll just kind of have to sit and wait and figure things out. You know, give it a couple more days here. In fact, give it till next week, and we should have a better idea of what we're looking at least temperature-wise. Will it rain on Thanksgiving? Good luck forecasting that just yet. We'll have to hammer out those details. You know, we tend to have a pretty good idea about a week in advance whether or not we're looking at rain or snow. Whereas temperature-wise, 10 days in advance, we generally can get a pretty good idea about whether or not a time period is going to be warm or cold. So we'll wait on that. We'll watch it and we'll see what we got. All right, guys, moving on. Now this is the new part that I want to talk about, or that I want to focus on more going forward, is doing a little explainer. Whether we say La Nina year coming all the time, we say El Nino's coming. What does that mean exactly? So I want to go through this a little bit with you so that you kind of understand it with us. And of course, if you have any questions here, find me on Facebook, Mike Thomas Fox 5, because I know a lot of people watch this later instead of live. So you can find me, Mike Thomas Fox 5. Ask me any questions. You can find me on Twitter at Mike T Fox 5. I am on Instagram, Mike Thomas Fox, I think it is, but I'm rarely on Instagram. We'll put it that way. I should be on there a little more. It's the new hip thing all the kids are doing. Anyway, looking at La Nina, when we're talking El Nino, La Nina, we are generally talking about, and I'm going to go, you know what, I'll stay with the black marker here as it works. We're talking about this kind of region of the, and it's not going to let me draw it on here, is it? No, because it wants to zoom into the picture. So there's the picture. We're talking about this part of the globe right here, the Pacific Ocean, specifically the equatorial Pacific, right along the equator in the Central Pacific, and whether or not waters in this region are warm or cold. This is a super strong La Nina that they're showing right here. So that must be 2011, 2012. I'm not sure exactly what year we're showing here, but just know that that's the region. When we talk about La Nina, we're talking water temps in that location. And more important than the water temps, we're talking about what effect water temperatures in that region have on the global wind patterns. Cooler than normal waters tend to mean less global winds, less intense global winds. Wind is the reason we have wind here on Earth is because of temperature differences. Obviously, way off to the north here, you have a lot of cold air. Down to the south here, you have a lot of cold air, and then usually in the tropics, right in the middle, as anyone who vacations there knows, you have a lot of warm air. If you're getting a little more, if we're in a La Nina, you're getting a little bit more balance between those super cold poles and the super warm equator region. That balance helps lessen global winds just a little bit, and then winds a response to temperature differences. You have the opposite. You have El Nino, and this is what an El Nino looks like. Again, I'm showing you examples. I think this was 1997, one of the strongest El Ninos on record. Could have been 2015, 2016, also one of the strongest on record, the one we just came out of. That's the same region, El Nino, La Nina region. Remember, you have super cold up here, up in the north, and I'm kind of filling in Alaska there. Sorry about that, Alaska. And then down to the south, you have super cold air there. So cold, and now you're even warmer in the tropics than you typically are in an average year. You're getting higher winds, and that affects things like the jet streams, the tropical jets, how much moisture is readily available for storm formation, where thunderstorms are forming in the tropical region, which does affect global patterns and things like that. So just know that's whether or not water is warmer or colder is not so much the direct factor that causes, like, say, a snowier winter here in DC. It's more what the water temps are doing to the global winds, and it's that global wind that leads to either more storms, less storms, hurricanes. It's big in the summer, it's big in the winter. Obviously, we're going to focus a little bit more on winter versus summer here. So that first one, La Nina, and let me get rid of this real quick just because I'm going to be going back and forth to it. So La Nina's typical pattern here for winter is to push that polar jet stream nice and far up to the north, and you get that subtropical jet stream. Since you're not getting a lot of storm activity over those cooler waters, you're pushing the subtropical jet stream a little farther to the north here. That's why even today, if you look at the Pacific Northwest, they're dealing with a storm system going into Seattle, Portland, and those regions getting rain and snow showers in the higher elevation, because that's typical of a La Nina. The storms come in up there, they weaken a little bit. Sometimes they reform across the mountains of Alberta. That energy gets up there. You'll form another system in Alberta, which we refer to a lot as Alberta Clippers. It comes down along the jet stream, maybe gives us a little bit of light snow here in D.C., gives the mountains halfway decent snows, and then it goes up and away. In the best years, it'll reform. You'll get those clippers that come across. They reform off the Atlantic coastline, go north, and then New England gets a blizzard. But those tend to miss us here in the mid-Atlantic region. But the number one key thing to kind of take away here is watch the subtropical jet. What I'm drawing the X on, that red arrow, watch the difference between a La Nina year and an El Nino year. El Nino year, you have a lot more storminess down here. You have a lot more active wind pattern. You have a more southern-based subtropical jet stream coming right off the tropics. That's your storm track. So you're going to get the storms into the southern portions of the United States. Sometimes they'll come up, go down, and come around. But also sometimes they'll come up from the south. And let me kind of refocus here. So that's your moisture feed is generally what I want to say here, is that you're putting a lot of moisture into the atmosphere with all the storminess over the warm water here. Your moisture feed's coming across Mexico. A lot of times it meets. You get these little pockets of energy that sometimes still come on shore here, but you'll get this energy that comes on, goes down, meets up with the subtropical jet stream, strengthens, becomes one of those monster blizzards that we love here so much. Then it meets with the polar jet stream, which they're showing way up here, but a lot of times, depending on the strength of El Nino, when we get those big systems, the polar jet stream's dipping down like this, the subtropical jet stream's coming up a little bit like this, and you're getting a combination of the two. You're getting your moisture feed from the south, and you're getting your cold air from the north, and those two combining is what gives us our big-time blizzards here in Washington, D.C. Again, a La Nina tends to be you're combining the two. You have polar meeting subtropical here in the western portion of the United States, so you're cold, wet, and snowy there. You do suck some moisture eastward, but it's lost sort of its source region. Remember, the source region is the ocean for all this moisture. If it travels 1,000 miles across the United States, or 2,000 miles, 3,000 miles, or however big the United States is, if it's traveling that many miles across open land and with no strong source of moisture, it's going to lose some of its oomph as it comes across the United States there. So that's why this is more of a clipper-based year, and El Nino is more of your juicy storms. Just take 2015, a big blizzard in January 2016, I believe it was. That was during this El Nino year. And then take last year. We had nothing here in D.C. That was a La Nina year, and all the storms kind of stayed in. And do want to mention this, that jet stream, that's just kind of your average position of your jet stream. A lot of times, and last winter was a classic case of it, that jet stream was up, down, and up through the Great Lakes like that. So they were cold out here, and the storm track rode up the jet stream through the Great Lakes, and we got nothing here because we were on the warm side of the jet stream. Sometimes that happens, and again, every La Nina is different, but that's kind of your typical pattern right there. So what does it mean for us here in D.C.? El Nino is the best if you like snowfall. There's no doubt about that. It's also the best if you like cold temperatures, but El Nino matters. The strength of El Nino matters. So if you all follow Fox 5 with DC, you'll know that last year was a terrible winter outlook. It was. I don't even hide it. I wrote it. Guilty. It was, we went super warm, which, or I'm sorry, not last year, 2 years ago. Go 2 years. It wasn't bad. Last year's was awful, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm thinking 2 years ago, 2015, 2016, I went with a super strong above normal temperatures, very warm winter, and then I went with below normal snowfall. You'll see why I did both of those things. It was a super strong El Nino year. It was one of the strongest El Ninos on record, if not the strongest. I don't exactly remember. But strong El Nino years tend to be warm here. You're blowing out the pattern almost. There's too much wind energy. You're not getting the storms to develop. And the El Nino pattern, the amount of warm in the tropical Pacific tends to kind of overblow the pattern here in the United States, and you tend to be super warm. 1997 during a super strong El Nino was that way, and believe it or not, despite the blizzard we got, 2015, 2016 was a super warm winter across much of the United States. Other than strong, El Ninos tend to be pretty good here for cold temperatures. Average of 38.1, I think, is our usual average here in DC, 38.1 degrees Fahrenheit for an average winter temperature. You see the best is moderate, and you'll see why moderate's the best. We're getting the cold down here, 36.5 degree average winter temperature for the 8 cases of moderate El Ninos we've had in recorded history, which only goes back to like 1950, by the way. 6 of those 8 years were cold winters here. Weeks not bad, 12 to 23 below, slightly above 50%. 50% were below normal winters here in DC for weak El Ninos. I'm sorry, that's all El Ninos there. Most of them are cold, just above 50%. But for weak, it's a 50-50 chance with a slight leaning to the colder direction. What does it mean for, or what does La Nina mean here? It tends to be warm. Cool. We need that jet stream, and if you're not getting the storm energy out of the Pacific to buckle the jet stream up and then down like it does in El Nino years, you tend to lean on the warmer side of things. Now, there is, of course, always an exception, and that one exception is moderate La Nina years. Of the 6 recorded cases, 4 have tended to be on the colder side of things. Now, what's this year going to be? Oh, we'll get to that in a second. But this year's going to be somewhere between weak and moderate, so a little bit tricky in that regard. Snowfall in La Nina winters doesn't tend to be favorable in weak, and I will tell you a lot of, or most forecasts are saying it's going to be a weak La Nina year. If we're able to go into moderate, hey, maybe things look a little more interesting. Look at that snowfall above normal, 24.9 inches. That's great. Only 6 cases there, and 4 of the 6 have been above. More cases of below normal snowfall in weak La Nina years, and that's one of the reasons why our personal forecast, which I'll show you at the end here, was going below normal. There's by comparison El Nino winters. You see most of them. There's all years. Most of El Nino winters contain above normal snows. We average 15.3, I want to say either 15.3 or 15.6. It might be 0.6 inches of snow a year, but regardless of which one of those numbers it is, you can see El Nino years tend to average 19.7, so we tend to do better in El Nino years. Maybe a little factor of 3 or above and 5 or below of the 8, so it's not a huge margin. But weak El Ninos seem to favor a little bit less than normal snowfall, though again, that's a little shaky because we've had some weak El Ninos with some big snows here in DC. Moderate's the best. So number one thing, if you're a snow lover here in DC and you're looking at a winter forecast and you're saying, what's the best thing, or what am I looking for big time snow here in DC? Because I want to be able to ski down Washington Avenue. What you want is we'll clear that out. You want a moderate El Nino. Look at that. Colder than normal temperatures. Your normal's up there, that dashed line. So strong favoring towards colder than normal temperatures. And numero uno, strong favoring towards above normal snowfall. Look at that. 5 of 8 years have contained above normal snowfall. And the most recent one was and here comes bad handwriting again, 2009, 2010 was the last moderate El Nino here in DC. That if you're a local, that should ring a bell like right away. That's Snowmageddon year. That's number one in everybody's hearts for snowfall here in DC. 56.1 inches of snow, I think. Somewhere around 56 inches of snow fell that year. We had 3 blizzards. We had 2 blizzards in 1 week. If you're a snow lover, it was awesome. If you hate snow, it was miserable. I'm the former, so I had a great time that year. Plus, I was in college in Baltimore at that time, and we got a week off college, which never happens. So I was impressed. So what about this year? So keeping all that in mind with this, La Nina, El Nino stuff that we just talked about. Here's this year. You see this is current out there right now. We have a La Nina developing. Notice how there's more cold water out in this region than there is in this region. We'll talk about that. I just want you to kind of make a note of that. We'll talk what that means here in just a second. General forecast from most of the modeling is somewhere between 0.4 and 1.2. Basically, 0.8 is the average right now of the models. You see that green line going down. That's a weak La Nina year overall. And specifically, we're talking about the Nino 3-4 region, and I'll mention what that is in a minute. But take note of that. If you're over here, you're talking a much stronger La Nina. What's the difference? Why is it a weak La Nina if over here you have so much cold water? Let's go into that right now. So here are the El Nino regions. You got region 1, 2, and again, this is you'll never hear us mention this on TV because this is way too complicated, and I'm sure I'm going over some people's heads, but I'm going to try and explain to you why each region is kind of important here. So Nino 1, 2 is this region here that kind of backs right up against the coast of South America. Nino 3 is that region just out beyond it. The most important region that any weather forecaster needs to know is this zone kind of in the middle. Nino 3-4 is what it's called. So that would be on, go back here, on the global map. Nino 3-4 is like this region right in here. That's the Nino 3-4 region. And it is very well correlated to what we're going to do here in terms of temperatures, in terms of precip in the eastern half of the United States is what Nino 3-4, as we just call. We don't call it 3.4 or 3N4. We just call it Nino 3-4 region. What that's going to do. That doesn't mean we ignore 1 and 2. 1 and 2 is right here. And say last year, a lot of warm water up against the coastline of South America tends to favor warmer winters here, while a lot of cold there kind of has the opposite effect, but at the same time not to the same degree. Let me kind of explain what I mean here. So keep that in mind. Here's the 3 regions. We're looking at specific temperatures here, temperature anomalies. This is the Nino 3-4 region. Only thing you need to note here, that's kind of what it looks like. It's zoomed in. The only thing you need to notice here, -0.7. So weak La Nina temperatures being reported, all in Celsius, by the way, guys, being reported in that region. We go over to Nino 1-2, you'll see much, much cooler water and moderate to strong La Nina at -1.5. Let me scroll up so you can see it. -1.5 degrees Celsius, average water temperature anomaly there in the Nino 1-2 region. What's the difference? East-based, west-based La Nina. This would be what we would call a east-based La Nina because the bulk of the cold water is in Nino 1-2 as opposed to Nino 3-4. So right now, we would say that since obviously the bulk of the cold water is in the east, it's an east-based La Nina. Difference is like this. Here's a lot of the years with east-based La Ninas. You see more cold making it into the center portion of the country, and even into the northeast as well. You're getting some cold up there in New England. You're getting the cold down into the southern portions of the United States. And compared to like what is a quote-unquote normal or west-based La Nina, where Nino 3-4 is the stronger feature, you're holding that cold more in the west, and you're really warming it up out in the east. This year, again, with it being more of an east-based La Nina, is one of the reasons that when I made this map for this year's temperature outlook, I took the cold all the way into the northeast. I didn't hold it back up here, because if you remember, in fact, let me go back and bring it up. Here's your typical La Nina pattern. You're generally speaking getting the cold up into this region, and then you're mixing with some southern warmth here, because what they're not showing you on this map is you tend to get a strong area of upper level high pressure here in the typical year, which pushes up some warmth from the south, meets the jet stream, and that's why you're wet but not snowy there in the mountains. Not in the east-based years. East-based years tend to be a little better for us, even here in DC, in terms of getting cold in here and at increasing our chances for snow. Tends to be more troughs of cold air are deflected a little more east than they are in the average La Nina year. So that's kind of a good sign for us. We did go above normal temperatures just based off history here in Washington, but just slightly so. I don't think it's going to be an overwhelmingly warm winter like last year was. Good back and forth between periods of cold, periods of warm. It's just when it's all said and done, I think the warmer periods will be a little bit more warmer than the colder periods at the end of the day. Hope that makes sense. Okay. Snowfall outlook looked like this. So slightly below normal snowfall. Not as bad as it could have been. I think Capital Weather Gang went 8 to 14, and I see why they did that, because if I go back to week La Ninas there, 10.9 inches for an average for the week La Nina years here in DC. I'm actually I'm below normal in snowfall, but I'm above normal when compared to the typical La Nina. And I'm above normal because it's an east-based versus a west-based La Nina. So that's all I have for that. I mean, other El Nino matters in the summer too. It's most predominant in its effects on our weather pattern, El Nino and La Nina during the winter. But during the summertime, if it's going to be a super active hurricane season in the Atlantic, typically has to be a La Nina year. You look at, I have to go back and check, but if you look at some of the most active hurricane seasons, they're typically La Nina summers because, again, we mentioned the global winds. Hurricanes don't like winds. If you're increasing global winds during an El Nino year and it's blowing across the Atlantic, tends to be a quieter season. Not totally quiet, but tends to be less storms. Look at last summer compared to this summer. Last summer we were coming out of our big time El Nino, lots of wind energy in the atmosphere. Didn't have a whole lot of hurricanes, below normal season. Got into this year, much more. We had a weak La Nina last winter. It kind of lasted-ish through the summer. Not really. We sort of went neutral, but we're still cooling. We didn't have the warm water there. So less global winds, a little bit more hurricane activity. And quite the hurricane season it was, thanks to super warm water temperatures in the Atlantic as well. So that's all I have, guys. Again, we'll see how this goes. I plan on, today was kind of boring science lesson day. Eventually we'll get this guy.
Oh, did I miss the show?
We'll get this guy involved.
I was
here.
just about to get involved.
I'm done. I'm tired.
But wait,
No, not done that fast.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right, well, yes. I'll be back to talk someday soon.
Yay,
What did you
yeah.
talk about today?
We'll have fun. Just El Nino, La Nina, what it means. It was fun. We had a good time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is anybody there?
Probably not, but I haven't really checked.
Did you chase our last viewer away?
I probably did. Let's see. Oh, two. I got two. Those. Okay. Two friends. Which
Like those exes?
it's just like, real life. Just two friends.
That's all you need.
That's all you need. Two close friends.
Sometimes all you need is yourself.
On those super lonely days, yeah. All right, so soon enough, we'll get Tucker involved. We're going to have more fun coming up. Wisdom's already on for doing a little sports thing once a week. One day I'll do a boring little science thing and try and teach a little bit about the weather. Mondays and Fridays, we'll stick it to the forecast because you'll want to know what's going on with the week ahead on Mondays, weekend and beyond on Fridays, and then Thursdays I got to find something for it. Maybe there'll be Tucker Thursday, the 2 T's on Thursdays, and we'll get Tucker involved. We'll do something. Let's see. Tomorrow I'm not sure if I'll be back because I believe they're going to do a podcast, but I'll let you know. If I see you tomorrow, we'll more fun. That's the end of the boring science lecture, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned just a little bit. And then stay warm. We're getting cold this weekend, so be ready for that. All right, guys, that's all I have for now. Molly's coming up in just a little bit here. She's going to let you know the latest news info and all that other stuff. For now, I'm signing off. All right, guys. I'll catch you guys later. See you.
would come forward, Heather would be eternally grateful.
Did she see what happened?
She told, why don't you say it? What was the circumstances?
I don't know how much she saw. I don't know if she saw Kevin Spacey put his hand in my son's pants. That much I don't know. What I do know is that she saw that my son was very shaken, and I would guess that she probably knew he was underage. He didn't look 21. And I know that she had the presence of mind and was disturbed enough by what she had seen to approach a young man who's almost 6 feet tall and ask him if he's okay. And I think that says something.
I mean, did he just happen to go to the club because he was a fan and knew Spacey would be there, that sort of thing? Like, how did he come to be at the club that particular?
We really don't want to get into those.
Do you know why
Had they met
Kevin Spacey was
that
there?
night?
I'm sorry.
Do you know why Kevin Spacey was at that location that evening?
We don't know.
Or why he
Was
was
he
on the
filming?
island?
We don't know.
Had they met before that night?
No.
Heather, did your son consider all coming here and talking about this stuff?
We
No.
don't want to discuss that.
Heather, can I clarify, you said you reached out to the sheriff on Nantucket. Was
Yes.
that last summer when
It was
your
last
children
summer. It
called
was-
you and said,
Yes.
we need help?
Yes.
Has this impacted your own career or any decision to kind of stay out of the spotlight?
I think everything that happens to you in your life affects decisions you make.
Thank you.
Do you know where things stand with the district attorney?
You'd have to call them.
Heather, could I just ask you about Netflix's reaction? Do you think they acted quickly enough? Are you happy they canceled House of Cards?
I think it's very sad that there are hundreds of people who are not able to work now. I think that's very sad. I'm happy that they saw the gravity of the situation and responded to it. But I think that there are a lot of people who are hurting who are not victims of sexual assault because of Kevin Spacey's actions. And I think a lot of those people are employees on House of Cards.
Do you all have any idea where Kevin Spacey is right now? Last we've heard he was seeking treatment.
We don't.
No.
Thank
Only
you.
what we've seen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she might, like, in the grand scheme of things, you know.
Everybody heard something different. Yeah. What? Everybody heard something different from
Well, she gave. I knew some of that. She gave some.
No, I gotta talk to Robert.
I went off thinking she was good.
Bob, how do you spell Kayla's name? Do you know?
I'll get it.
Okay, thanks.
And does she have the same last name?
That's not.
gotta wonder. You gotta wonder.
Okay, they just transported.
Right
here.
here.
Done that. All right. So.
Police officers, they're both alert, conscious, and breathing. And as I said, one suspect is in custody. But it looks like police are still keeping this street blocked off. So we're trying to get more information about why this area is still investigation. I'm in close contact with.
Hey, man. Hey. No. We're at the police shooting where the 2 cops got shot. No, we're not in a storm chaser. No, we're in Mike Daly's truck. You know that one, Eli? We're behind the school. Aeon, not Aeon, Juan and Dukes. The convoy just left. Where are you? Oh, okay. All right, man. Let me call you back. Okay. Call me if you need me, man. Let me just call the station real quick. Hey, the convoy just left. Oh, okay. That's cool. I'm just checking in with you. We got great for you. We're good. Hey, man. Is Jacob Bailey your cousin?
Don't know. I've been back in this block of traffic.
Yes, man.
So, I heard you touched on the radio, but I don't know no name.
Okay. Maybe we said she heard it. Right, yeah, that was from the major right there. Yeah, actually I am right here at Common Street. Yeah. No, not yet. Not yet. Okay. I'll ask this other. What was that? What's that guy's name one more time? Bailey. Is Bailey the one he custody? Jacob Bailey?
I don't know.
Yeah. They need to see if we can find out if that's confirmed him in custody.
Okay.
Yes, I'm listening. I'm sorry. Yeah. You know what hospital?
After that, yeah.
Oh, okay. You mind talking to us for just a second? How did you, I'm Angelique Proctor with Fox 5. How did you even hear about this? Oh, wait, he's not up yet. Oh, okay. How did you hear about this?
My daughter, who's a 6th grader in the school, texted me and told me that the school was on lockdown and she wasn't sure what was going on. That they've been on lockdown since 2nd block.
And so what did you do?
I texted her, found out how she feel, what was going on. She told me her stomach hurts, but the teacher said that everything was going to be okay. The teacher was by the door with the door locked. All the students were safe by their desk behind the windows, behind the doorway.
And now to know that 2 officers have been shot.
That's insane. That's just crazy. I'm just glad that the kids are safe.
pretty anxious moments coming over here, no doubt.
Yeah,
Do
I'm
you-
still shaking.
Did you drive over or did you walk over?
Yeah, I drove over. My job is close by. I cross my daughter's school every day going to work. So I figured I'll stop and see what was going on to make sure she was safe on my way to work. And as soon as they let me, I'm gonna take her out.
Today?
Yeah.
A little too much for you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Did you get her name?
Oh, no, I didn't, ma'am. Give me your name. Can you roll on that?
Myrna Rosado, MYRNA-ROSADO.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Do it one time and quick.
Okay.
Hold on, I gotta get this official sound first. Don't take my live pic unless you want to take this live interview.
This is it.
This is gonna be the new information that I need, so I can't not get this.
Oh, wow. You need a tripod, Lloyd.
I don't have time to get it. Let me just make it work.
Hey,
You guys have live view?
could Juan help you?
Can he bring up a live pic or something? I'm gonna get this.
Do you?
Are
you on live view?
So you let me know if you want to take it live or not.
You're on live view?
Yes, we're good. Let me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give us your name first.
I'm Major Chris Matson with Forest Park Police Department.
Spell Matson.
MATSON.
Tell us what's going on.
Okay. Pet officers respond to a reckless driving call. Now keep in mind, the details are still being sorted out, so there's going to be some of your questions I can't answer right now.
What
okay?
street was that, Major?
Okay, that's over on Mitchell Street, which is right behind the middle school. And when the officers located the suspect, they followed him behind the house, and the suspect opened fire on the officers. 2 officers were hit. One has a non-life-threatening wound. The other one appears like he's going to be okay. Both the officers are in there late, and the suspect is, I believe, he's approximately a 30-year-old white male, and we did locate him. He is deceased.
How did he die?
I don't know. That will be up to the medical examiner and the GBI.
Where'd you find him?
Both of them have been called, right in the area where the shooting was.
So just reiterate,
Okay.
you were pulling him over for reckless driving.
That's what
And
that was the complaint that we got, was reckless driving.
And as they were pulling him over,
I don't know the details.
Okay.
That'll be up. We'll have to pull, get videos and all that other kind of stuff out of the cars to see
But that's
exactly
when
what
they
happened.
shot the officers.
Yes, it was after they had followed him behind the house and
Do you
fire
believe
up.
he's acting
They were
alone?
out of the car when he opened fire?
Yes, they were out of the car.
Do you think he was by himself?
It appears so. Yes.
So no more suspects you're looking for right now?
Not right now.
How many officers were on the scene at the time?
There was 2.
Just the
both,
2?
but just those 2. Yes.
And where are the 2 officers right
Yes.
now?
Mhm.
Which hospital?
I believe, I'm not sure if it's Grady or AMC, but they might have been going to separate ones. I'm not
Where
sure.
were they shot?
I can't give you that
Can you
information
tell
right now
us
to be
why
sure.
officers are still here? Are they just at the scene?
Well,
for...
that's a normal crime scene with a police involved shooting and a suspect being deceased. That's
Was the
normal.
school ever
You saw
affected?
the ambulance pull away. Was the suspect in that ambulance?
Was the school ever affected? The
No.
students? Okay.
There was no harm
Does-
done or any possibility of harm to students.
Does the suspect seem to have a gunshot wound?
I can't tell. We can't tell right now what it was. Okay.
Thank you
Did
so
they get
much.
shots off at the suspects? Did you have police officers return fire?
Well, that'll be once we get a chance to talk to them and to see exactly what happened.
So it's possible your officer shot him.
It's possible. It's possible either he shot himself, or the officers, or there's something else that we don't know. But the investigation, this is not a quick determination that we can make on these kind of things. Because if I tell you one thing, 5 minutes from now that could change.
Where was his body found again, your
It
suspect?
was behind the house where the shooting took place.
So he could have run and collapsed after being hit. What house is that? What street is that?
It's on Mitchell Street.
So it all happened on Mitchell?
Yes.
Traffic stop?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Did he ever run onto the school property?
No. Like I said, the school was never affected. Nobody was harmed. Nothing was in their direction.
Can you tell us where on
Can
the
you give us
officers'
an
bodies they were
address?
shot?
No, I already said I can't give
can
you
you
that
give us address on
information.
Mitchell, the house?
I don't have the address.
What,
I
how can
didn't
you
get it.
describe it for us?
It's a single-story house, 2 or 3 houses down
Color?
from the corner.
You know what?
I don't remember what it
Were
was.
there people in that house?
There were people in the house, yes.
Did they take cover, or what happened with that?
I don't know. I haven't interviewed them. Like I said, folks, come on. We're 30, 45 minutes into this. Give me a break.
We
okay?
thank you for
We're
giving
more
us this
concerned right now.
information.
I mean, we've got the shooter. There's no more threat to any public, and our officers appear like they're going to be okay. That's the important thing here. Not who was in the house, not this. Those are minute details. We'll sort it out later.
One
Okay.
easy question. Jacob Bailey, the suspect that's in custody, did he have was that a mugshot you put out of him
Yeah.
earlier?
I didn't give any name or any picture to anybody
Mr. Matson, thank you.
in the media.
I'm pretty sure your department gave us a photo.
If they did, I don't know about it.
That sent out. It was Clayton County. Maybe I'll spare you the sort of howitzer. What I mean, where are your officers' minds right now? Anytime you have two officers.
Well, first of all, at this point, we're extremely grateful that they're going to be okay by everything that we can tell. You know, one officer's he's having surgery. The other one, I'm waiting for an update on him.
And in these types of situations, I mean, you know, when you have, you know, fellow officers shot like this, just the officer's state of mind as they're going to respond to a call like this.
Well, it's certainly a heightened sense of alert and determination to get the person that did it. And that's why we have such a response from, I think I counted 5 different agencies that came. And, you know, that's what we are. I mean, we're one big family, and when somebody's hurt or somebody needs help, that's what we do.
In the search, it doesn't sound like there was a search. I mean, they stopped and it all happened very, very quickly.
Yes and no. Those are some of the details I can't give you, though. Okay.
Maybe appreciate it. Thanks so much.
All right.
They were in uniform?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sorry for y'all. But you had to
Where's
blast
the-
to the scene.
Oh, God.
Where's the suspect's car? What kind of car was he?
Can we walk up there?
No, you can't.
I mean,
right
just a
now.
little closer.
Mitchell.
With GBI and all that's coming, so we've got it all blocked off. I guarantee it'll be blocked off for quite a while.
Do you know what kind of car he was in?
I think it was a motorcycle.
Really?
I think.
You would know.
No, actually, believe it or not, sometimes in these things, I get told something, you know, the next day, and it's like, whoa, I didn't know that. Yeah, because there's so much information, and especially when you're dealing with the tactics and so forth, we're trying to sort it out.
What time did this happen? Did they pull him over?
I don't even know. I mean, do you happen to know when the call time? I was actually in class.
About 10:50 a.m. Okay. Thank you.
George Haas,
Yeah, we're moving on.
Larry Clarence Halick, Antonio Hernandez Soto, Francis Lee Langley, Felix Manuel Lopez Agosto, Alan Randall Moore, Larry Dale Myers, Roger Dale Foley, Sandy Lee Ross, Robert Peter Sheena, Gary Don Shields, G. Lyle Stetton, John Lee Strickland, John O'Neill Welsh Jr., Ernest Howard Wilson, Patrick Lee Wood, Alvy Clinton Wyatt, Jack Lee Allen, Manuel Barrera, Robert Edwin Bethune, Johnny Lee Bruton, John Edward Bush, Frederick Thomas Carter, Rodney George Drake, Carrie Wayne Ellenberger, Gary Don Freeman, Thomas Arthur Berg, Michael Raymond Ishii, Angus N. Jackson, Charles William Johnson, Clayton Charles Kemp Jr., Lloyd Charles Lagerman, David Bruce Matthews, Thomas Irwin Matush, Charles D. Maxwell, Billy W. McKeel, Dennis Paul Neely, Wayne Conrad Reinke, Renee Reynoso, Alexander Chris Sanderson, Gus J. Charlo, Thomas Collins Shea, Kenneth Lynn Shepard, Charles John Thomas, Alan David Timmerman, Ronald Bra Van Regenwerder, Bobby Joe Wilson, Hector M. Alcacer Martinez, Raymond Albert Fizzle, Michael Ray Brockman, Richard Michael Cummings, Francisco de la C. Decanay, Jeffrey Thomas Dine, James Odin Doverly, Jerry James DeSoe, John Patrick Eves, Robert Theodore Edwards. Robert Dale Erickson, Fordham H. Jr., Bobby G. Goldhagen, George Henry Paddock, Edwin Charles Hill, Bobby G. Jackson, Aaron Burr Jones Jr., Robert Stephen Stevens, Michael Joseph Kehow, Norman Lee Moore, Bruce Dixon Patterson, Leroy Pearson, Louis Edward Zita, William Louis Randolph, Weston Henry Reese, Richard Albert Robb, Gerald Stevens, Henry Ezra Teason, Morgan Darrell Hurley, Henry Wayne Webster, Larry Chandler West.
All right, hey guys, if you're watching our stream, thanks for joining us here today. You're watching actually a clip from earlier this morning as the names of the Vietnam veterans who died, 58,000 of them, 58,318 to be exact, were read, and it turns out this started overnight. So it went on through the cold and the rain. Wow. I know, it's really amazing to see, and sorry that the camera is a little bit off. This was the feed that we had from this morning, but it was, they're going to be continued to be read through Friday at midnight leading up to Veterans Day. So we thank them for their service. And it really is a cool thing. I know we cover stuff like this when there's sort of an anniversary of something with World War II. Maybe, I think we did something last year with that where they read the names of these veterans. Isn't that really neat, T?
That is very neat. And I think it's very, like, it shows the gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible that they've been reading it for
I know.
so long.
I know, and I apologize again, the camera angle's a little bit off here, but we have just a chunk of footage from this being read by family and friends and volunteers and various people connected to this. I wanted to, we're going to flash back in and out of this, obviously, but that's just the video, but I wanted to call to attention, of course, yesterday, guys, was the big Virginia governor's race, and we were talking about that, so we're going to have more from Ralph Northam, the governor-elect, Democrat in Virginia. Oh. He had a speech this morning that we have on tape, and also the first transgender woman elected to state legislator in Virginia, so we have an interview with her.
Wow. Big stuff for Virginia. It seems like Virginia's coming up in the world.
No, totally true. It is. I think a lot of people were happy to see one of the biggest turnouts since 1994, and just people kind of showing up in droves for this one.
It was huge.
You're not part of Virginia. You're Maryland.
I'm Maryland,
yeah.
But definitely good to see one of the three major, I guess, states
in this area, the DMV.
It seems like a lot of people were out there to vote and support whoever they, whether they're Democratic or Republican.
Yeah, like I said, so many people came out, guys, this year, and our reporter, Ronica Cleary, was actually at the headquarters, or the place where Ralph Northam won and where he accepted his victory. So we're going to hear from her in a little bit, if she's able to come over and kind of chat about it. Yeah.
Good to see Democrats,
coming out in
Yeah,
droves. Like I said, the turnout was higher than it's been, and a lot of people are saying in this sort of political climate, after this past year and whatnot, it's becoming more of a major thing for people to make sure they show up.
Has the president commented on?
You know, that's a really good question. I actually don't
recent-
know if he's been tweeting. I'm not positive. He mentioned something, I think, about the victory for the Democrat in Virginia, but yeah. And IT is giving me a little IT support right now.
Oh yeah, this thing just came up. I got you.
Gotta keep on it.
Yeah.
What else is going on, T? Anything else in your world?
No, just,
You worked late for the elections, right, last night?
I did. Yes, I was here till midnight.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, everything went smoothly within our station. But as we were getting information, you know, everything. The whole transition was pretty smooth on our side, I think. Everything worked out pretty well.
Good, yeah. Like I said, we had people
Numbers were accurate.
out late, yeah. People out late at the different headquarters and getting ready to just bring in the results. So if you are just joining us, we're going to be kind of tracking that and bringing you Ralph Northam's speech as well. I want to make sure we play that out. It was from 10 o'clock this morning, so really just a few moments ago. I'm going to find that for you. And we'll hear from the new, now governor-elect of Virginia. So we're going to go there. Okay.
Oh, please be seated. Good morning. Wow, thank you all for being here bright and early, right? The day after the election, and what an exciting last 24 hours it has been. And I would just tell you that it's a real thrill for Pam and me and our family, and just tremendously humbled and privileged to be able to serve as the next governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. So we appreciate that. I want to tell you that I'm very proud of our ticket. We ran a very strong coordinated campaign. Mark Herring, as you know, is a tremendous friend to the Commonwealth. He and I were desk mates in the Virginia Senate for several years, and I'm so pleased that he was reelected to be the Attorney General. And our friend Justin Fairfax ran a great campaign as well. And we look forward to Justin being our next Lieutenant Governor. And as you know, we picked up a number of seats in the House of Delegates, and there's still some that are being decided, and so we want to follow that closely. But you know, I think it's a sign for Virginia and an opportunity for Virginia that we come together and that we unite, and we will, I think, always agree that it's okay to disagree as we move forward. But at the end of the day, this is about the Virginia way, and we have just a wonderful Commonwealth, a tremendous amount of potential. And so I look forward to bringing people from both sides of the aisle together to move Virginia forward. I also want to just briefly mention, I would be remiss, and she's not here this morning, but I have a wonderful wife who has supported me through this endeavor. And Pam is going to be a wonderful First Lady for the Commonwealth of Virginia. So I look forward to watching her work over the next 4 years. I also want to thank our current governor, Terry McAuliffe, who, as I described Terry, he has been the right person at the right time for the Commonwealth of Virginia. He's done a wonderful job building the new Virginia economy, and I think most of you all know that we have had a very close relationship, and he has been a friend, a mentor, and I look forward to continuing to have his support as we move forward. And it's great to see so many of the cabinet members here this morning, and I'm not going to try to list all of you off, because if I leave someone off, I know I'll be in the doghouse. But one of the things that I have enjoyed as being the Lieutenant Governor, I have been a member of the governor's cabinet, and it's been a privilege, and he has just put so many good men and women around him, and I thank you all for the work that you've done for our Commonwealth over the last 4 years, and look forward to working with you all as we move forward as well. So we are at a time of transition, And we are looking forward to this, and I'm so pleased to have 4 of my co-chairs for my transition team as we move forward, and I will introduce them in just a little bit, but I would like to talk about some of our priorities, if I could, very briefly. And the first is our economy. And we want to make sure that we continue to promote economic opportunity for all Virginians, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. And we have been so proud as our governor has led with building the new Virginia economy that we've brought in over 215,000 new jobs, over $18.5 billion of capital investment, and our unemployment rate has gone from 5.4 to 3.7%. It's the lowest that it's been in 9 years. We are very proud of that, but there's some areas that we still have room for improvement. And one of those is rural Virginia. And as you all may be able to tell by the way I speak, is that I am from rural Virginia, and we need to lift all of Virginia up. And if you go to the Eastern Shore, where I'm from, or the South Side or the Southwest of Virginia, we're nowhere near 3.7%. So we have work to do, and there are things that are very important to me and very important to this Commonwealth, such as universal broadband. I just find it very difficult in 2017 to not only grow a business, but start a new business with so many pockets across Virginia that still don't have access to broadband and cell coverage. I also think it's important that we look at things like expanding the University of Virginia WISE to bring more talent into that area, to bring more graduate level courses to the area, and really continue to promote the jobs of the 21st century, which are really in what I like to call STEAM H related areas, but science, technology, engineering, the arts, math, and healthcare, things like cybersecurity and unmanned aerial systems and artificial intelligence and biotechnology, data collection, data analysis. These are the jobs of the 21st century. So let's continue to bring skills to jobs and lift up all of Virginia. It's also important to me as we move forward that we promote diversity across this Commonwealth, that we promote inclusivity, and that means that we continue to work as hard as we can to fight against discrimination, to level the playing field in Virginia, and to make sure that everybody has the same opportunity in this great Commonwealth to live the American dream. I am very intent on looking at government efficiency in Virginia. It has been a while since someone came in and looked at our agencies to see what was working well, what could be improved upon. I'm a business owner in Hampton Roads, and we do this. I think any good business should do that. And not only will it make our Commonwealth more efficient, but it will also save taxpayers money at the end of the day. So I plan to do that as we move forward. I want to mention a couple of things about health care. As a provider, I've taken care of sick children and their families for over 25 years, and I really believe that health care is a right. Nobody should have to decide whether they have to put food on the table or go see a provider. And I remind people all the time that no individual, no family should be one medical illness away from financial demise. So I am very intent and motivated to make sure that all Virginians have access to affordable and quality health care. And I don't mind calling it something different if we need to. I don't mind working with people from both sides of the aisle. But when we have 400,000 working Virginians that don't have access to coverage, I find that unacceptable. And also, as you all know, that each day that we don't bring that tax money from Washington back into Virginia to support Virginians, we're not only leaving on the table, but we're giving to other states who we compete with, by the way, over $6 million a day. And that, as a business model, I find that unacceptable. So I will continue to work on that. People ask me often, Ralph, what is the most significant challenge that we face in Virginia? And I would have to tell you as a provider that is the opioid crisis. And as you all know, we lost over 1,100 Virginians last year to opioid overdose, and it's an issue that does not discriminate. And as a physician, I will bring people to the table and make sure that we do everything that we can to offer these individuals help that have this addiction issue, and also to prevent it from happening, which I think is very important. Pam, my wife, is an educator. She's a K-5 science teacher. I am an educator. I teach at the Eastern Virginia Medical School people ask me, Ralph, if you could leave your mark, what would it be? And it would be to make sure that all of our children, and I do truly believe that there is power in every child, I want to make sure that all of our children have access to world-class education, and we'll be talking more about that as we move forward. But that's very important. It's also important that we train our youth for these 21st century jobs. I am an environmentalist. I'm a scientist. I believe in global warming. If you don't believe in sea level rise, come visit me on the eastern shore of Virginia. But we need to wean ourselves away from fossil fuels. We have a tremendous opportunity in Virginia to continue to promote renewable energy. And as you have heard me say before, I would like by 2030 that at least 30% or more of the energy that we produce in Virginia be from renewable energy. I think that is something that is very doable. And finally, I just want to make a quick comment, but certainly not to politicize the tremendous tragedies that we are watching all too frequently, but that is gun violence. And I think that we as a society, we as Virginians, need to come to the table and have a discussion and find things that we can agree on, and that is responsible gun ownership, and do what we can to try to prevent any more of these tremendous tragedies from occurring. And I will just tell you that it's not only the tragedies that we hear about and read about, the ones where 28 people get killed or 58 people get killed, but every day there are Virginians that die because of gun-related accidents, and we can do better. So I look forward to leading that discussion. Finally, I just want to tell you that transition is very, very important to me. We have had a great administration to work with, but you know, Virginia, as you know, is the only state in which you have 4 years, and that's it. And so we need to hit the ground running, and I plan to hit the ground running. That's one reason why I'm here this morning with 4 individuals that I feel very strongly about, and I'm going to set the bar high. I know people look at me and say, Ralph, you're a nice person, and I am a nice person, but I expect a lot, and Virginians expect a lot out of the future administration, the 73rd governor. So I want to introduce my co-chairs and my chairwoman of my transition team, and then we will be very anxious to get to work. So first of all, and this is in no particular order, but the lady in blue behind me, Miss Joni Ivey, and I just want to read a little bit about their resumes to you so that you'll get a feel for what quality folks these are, and what in good position we're in Virginia. Joni served as Congressman Bobby Scott's long-term chief of staff, and now serves as a member of the state's parole board as well as the Virginia Commission on Higher Education Board appointments. This is the group that makes recommendations to the governor on Board of Visitor appointments. So, Joni, thank you so much for offering to be one of our co-chairs, and we look forward to working with you. Mr. Todd Stoudemire, thank you for being with us today. Todd, as you all know, is the CEO of Inova Center for Personalized Medicine, and I didn't want to get too much into the details, but when we talk about the cost of healthcare, the future of healthcare is in personalized medicine, and I am very excited, especially as a physician, to make Virginia the world-class leader in personalized healthcare. So Todd also serves as the rector of the Board of Visitors at William & Mary, and is the past chair of Northern Virginia Technology Council. So Todd, thank you so much for agreeing to help us. Doris Krause-Mays, what a great relationship we have had over the years. And, you know, I didn't mention to you, but when we talk about...
All right, guys, so if you're watching, this was the speech from Governor-elect Ralph Northam in Richmond this morning, and I'm back in the newsroom here with Risa. We're going to kind of pull back in. This was earlier, a couple hours ago, so I see a couple of you are on the stream, so Schultze, good to see you again. We're going to kind of let this play out and just kind of give you the highlights of that. But he was the victor yesterday, so the big race. It went on until the polls closed at 7. We had reporters at each location, and victory for a lot of Democrats in Virginia. That's sort of the big news of today. We'll have more on that from some of our reporters who are in the newsroom that covered this in a bit. But for now, and we can replay some of that if we need to, let's talk a little social news, Risa.
Let's talk.
What else is going on? You were working on a really cool story this morning.
It's a story for the holidays, I think. So shout out to Kia Davis for really efforting with this project. which basically is set to feed 500 families for the Thanksgiving holiday season, and not just for that one day, because you hear a lot of these projects that, oh, we're accruing, we're basically trying to raise donations and trying to gather funds to buy turkeys and food for this specific day. The mission behind this project is to feed a family of 4 for 2 weeks out. So that's a really big thing that
is big.
We covered today. Our Fox 5's Allison Seymour went out and met with Kia Davis in Alexandria City to basically discuss this project. In addition, we surprised her with Eastern Motors. Shout out to them with a $3,000 check for this mission. So it's an awesome feel-good story. You know, it's just basically the community coming together and just doing their part for the holidays, because you know it's tough for some families to budget out for this special day. You know, when they're basically trying to make ends meet. So this is something cool that we've been doing. It's our Pay It Forward
series, right?
Series,
yeah. It's so easy to think about that in the holidays and take all that partying and food and drink for granted.
Absolutely.
And you don't even think about it. So coming up in a couple weeks around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I know. Can you believe that?
Nope, it's amazing.
I know.
So shout out to you guys on the stream. Thanks for joining us. Keep the chatter coming. You can chat with us on the live chat and let us know what you think. Some serious stuff today. We're going to flash to anything that's breaking, and a little bit of coverage of yesterday's election where actually the first transgender woman won as a state legislator in Virginia. That was really interesting.
It was a big thing,
Bob Barnard had that story earlier this morning. He's still around in the newsroom, so I'm going to see if I can snag him a little later to kind of just chat what his conversation was like with her and how that interview went, and more there. And then Rice and I just talking social media. What else? We had a go-go band on this morning.
We had an awesome go-go band on this morning, and I think they're performing at what stadium? Echo Stage.
Echo Stage. 4 of the main big go-go backyard band, Rare Essence. 2 other iconic ones coming together for one concert in DC.
Yeah, one big collaboration, which I think is going to be awesome. I mean, go-go is basically the heart of the city, right? So that's what we had this morning. But guys, we have something making its rounds on Instagram.
Okay, we got to show you this.
This is one of your favorite accounts that you follow, right?
It's one of my favorite accounts.
Same here.
So for memes, Daquan is a great account. I've been following him for a bit. You have too.
Yeah, I have too. I think I got on them because of you.
Maybe, really?
Yeah, Molly would tag me on these awesome, relatable videos that I'm like, okay, you know what? I need to follow this account. So last night we saw this video. She alerted me. Yeah, I totally alerted Molly on this one. So last night there was a video, because the internet does not forget. It resurfaced from 2016 back in July.
Before I was even here.
Before Molly's time here. So we're gonna flash back
and you
to
can
that
give us a little background on that.
Yeah, a little bit of a rundown.
All right, let's get it up. Hang on.
It is natural, but interestingly enough, studies show that if you have between 104 degree or 108 degree nasal tip rotation, those are the ones that are considered the most beautiful, and hers is 106.
Somebody in here to measure our nasal tip rotation.
And then we know if we have the most beautiful noses.
But symmetry is what they say is a lot in the eye of beauty, right?
Okay, the second most requested eyelids. It is natural, but interestingly enough.
Okay, so that was
the video.
And that's pretty easy to follow, I guess. Yeah, they were talking about symmetry and angles of faces being what modern beauty is. Of course, they have a picture of Kate Middleton there, and this was before my time. And this is something that we do kind of in the later, I guess, morning show, right? The featurey entertainment part, and just the faces from Maureen and Wisdom.
Hysterical and iconic. I think everyone has dubbed Maureen Queen of Side-Eye.
Side-eye.
Yes, because did you see her side-eye game there? Strong. And,
I'm glad you guys like that.
Just filtering through the different comments. Hilarious. So essentially what happened, like Molly said, back in 2016, we were discussing symmetry of the face and what is presumed to be the most beautiful.
There was some scientific study or something.
Some scientific study, which people were not for, and clearly our anchors also showed it in their face.
You could easily see people tweet back and opinionated, be like, no way. Like,
yeah, because I know my nose is not that way,
I
but
know, right?
I
Me neither.
still find myself beautiful, as you are too. We're all beautiful in our own unique, special way.
That's so funny.
So, guys, this video went viral.
I love it.
There were so many media outlets that picked it up and wrote a story on basically the emotions of our anchors and how they were just not for it. But the Queen Bee, I think the highlight there was Maureen Side-Eye.
And Wisdom was able to look at the camera too in that way.
Yeah, he's still got his look in.
He's good at it. Did you guys write up anything from that, or how did that go?
We did. So I think it just unraveled. It was a spontaneous tweet tweeted by, I don't remember who, which is what you're saying in that video. I think they probably had it on their.
Oh my God, I love
what is that when you preset your DVR? Is that what it is? I don't know.
Oh, TiVo, whatever it was back then.
Yeah.
Or I guess
a year ago. Yeah.
What are people even doing?
Whatever they did, just
it.
to kind of stop and rewind. She got it, tweeted it out,
So
and it
funny.
had hundreds of thousands of retweets.
And she laughs at
many
Wisdom's
comments.
face. You can see like there's that moment where the person taking it is laughing.
Yeah. So that was the video that made its rounds on
Yesterday.
the internet last year, and then here we
okay.
go again, making its rounds again on the internet.
Because we know internet doesn't forget, and memes come back around. Those accounts find the stuff that was so juicy and funny and take it back and get more laughs and comments.
Absolutely. So just because you delete it doesn't mean the internet can forget. They will they will look through your buried dirt to resurface things like this.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how they captioned it. I think they put "never forget."
Watch to the end because Wisdom.
Because of Wisdom and Maureen there.
So funny.
That's what's going on social.
Anyway, yeah, that's what's going on. Again, today, guys, we are previewing, like we mentioned, King of Colors. You've seen us kind of talk about this.
I'm so excited.
Here it is. Let's play it out again. Yeah, so we're going to be down there today. Very
It's
excited.
gonna be awesome. This is why I'm in all black.
I know.
I figure that the colors I will be the canvas.
It'll look really good with the
colors
black.
will pop on my black.
It'll look really good with the black. We're going to get some good digital coverage, some photos, make a video out of it. We'll see, because it is, like they mentioned, more immersive, less interactive. We're not going to be touching things and moving things to make the art flow. It's just going to be there in front of us and kind of, we're going to be within it.
We will be observers of it. We're basically just
skip
being
it.
immersed into it without touching it. We're just looking, and then our ears are also a big factor in this one because they have the music balanced out with the art that's going to be shown across, the walls, basically.
Oh, the music, that's so cool.
I'm all about
sound
music.
is all about it. Yeah, we might want to even use some of their music versus covering it with some of our own
Absolutely.
for some of the footage.
Yeah, but it looks so cool. I'm so excited.
Me too. We're really excited to be part of Media Day there, so we can kind of get immersed in this right away and be some of the first people to see it.
Yes, which is awesome.
Cool.
Perks.
Let us know what you think. Let us know what you're thinking about today, guys. We're going to be jumping around. If you were on earlier, you probably saw this. It was some footage of a police shooting. Apparently 2 police were shot at and or ultimately shot, but the suspect was found. This was in Forest Park, Georgia. So I kind of took us off that feed because everything was sort of resolved, at least at that point.
Do you know why?
Don't know. They interviewed a couple of people. This was a reporter breakable camera, so they were kind of just on the street.
Okay.
And the guy was like, hey, this just happened 30 minutes ago. I don't have a ton of details, but they're still, apparently they did get the suspect, and that's
great.
Ongoing. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So that was one of our live feeds. And then we have coverage of yesterday's election. So we're going to kind of go over to that. Schulte saying you can observe the stuff moving. It must be an installation work. Yeah, really interesting. I think it will be sort of moving before our eyes. And again, this is a sort of a digital house, a digital installation museum. So things will be probably not what they seem.
Right.
And then moving with music and color.
So cool.
It's called and cocktails to match it.
Oh my
there
gosh,
will be a bar.
this is
Remember?
right. We got a little sneak peek of that the last time we were there. Yes.
I'm really excited. We're so excited to bring this to you too because it's a fun part of the digital world to capture stuff that is digitally interesting that digital consumers want and are interested in. And that's like these accounts, these posts on Insta,
They're
these
super Instagrammable pictures.
videos to play on YouTube, any of that.
I think it'll be
So
awesome.
it's a mix.
I'm
Breaking
excited.
news and local cool stuff. We got it all.
Yeah, Molly, you got it covered.
Oh my
She
gosh.
has
So
it covered.
are you going back to work on anything special right now?
Just trying to rest my voice for right now.
Yeah.
Still I've been a little sick. My throat just been giving me issues. I think it's the fall weather, just kind of really taking. It's
interesting. Me
hoarse.
too. Yeah, I woke up cold this
morning.
morning.
Bug working its way around the office.
I know.
Too.
You know that's
keep my
coming.
distance. No, I'm kidding.
Hey.
Hello.
What's up? Schulte saying wine and cheese. Hey, yeah, I'd be interested in that.
That sounds delish.
We always have some good food on this morning I had some of the good chef's food. Chef came
Celebrity
in.
chef. He cooked for Queen.
Celebrity
for Queen
Amir.
Bey.
Chef Amir is his name, and he cooked for Beyonce. He's cooked for Queen Latifah. He made a Gouda mac and cheese and a cranberry sauce and a sweet potato yam,
How was it?
toasted pecan thing. Really good. I got a little bit of everything like in a bowl.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm really loving Thanksgiving food, man. I'm
Uh-huh.
getting into it. I'm like, it's 2 weeks away. I'm like ready.
Wow, that's insane.
I know.
I can't believe 2 weeks
It's
away.
so good. I know. It's coming soon. So we'll have more leading up to Thanksgiving with these really cool feel-good stories about helping others in the community and anything else like that. We'll make sure we cover on the show.
We always bring it to you guys.
Yeah.
And Molly always breaks it down.
And more stuff on Kingdom of Colors tomorrow, right? It's a really cool one. We'll make sure we put
We
together
got
something
some
really
cool
good.
content
We'll put something together really good in the morning.
I think so.
I think. We'll work on that in the morning early.
Yeah.
I think it'll be good.
I think so.
We'll try to.
Yeah, we'll try our best, guys.
Yeah, lots of social media. All right, guys. Thanks, Raisa. We're going to go back
Thanks,
to.
Molly. Thanks,
we'll,
guys.
we'll finish out this Ralph Northam speech so you can hear from the new governor-elect. He's going to be governor, taking over for Democrat Terry McAuliffe. And then we'll hopefully snag Bob from Inside the Newsroom to talk a little more about his interview this morning with the first transgender state legislator in Virginia. Really interesting stuff there. All right, let's go back to Ralph Northam's speech.
Children, and I do truly believe that there is power in every child. I want to make sure that all of our children have access to world-class education, and we'll be talking more about that as we move forward. But that's very important. It's also important that we train our youth for these 21st century jobs. I am an environmentalist. I'm a scientist. I believe in global warming. If you don't believe in sea level rise, come visit me on the eastern shore of Virginia. But we need to wean ourselves away from fossil fuels. We have a tremendous opportunity in Virginia to continue to promote renewable energy. And as you have heard me say before, I would like by 2030 that at least 30% or more of the energy that we produce in Virginia be from renewable energy. I think that is something that is very doable. And finally, I just want to make a quick comment, but certainly not to politicize the tremendous tragedies that we are watching all too frequently, but that is gun violence. And I think that we as a society, we as Virginians, need to come to the table and have a discussion and find things that we can agree on, and that is responsible gun ownership, and do what we can to try to prevent any more of these tremendous tragedies from occurring. And I will just tell you that it's not only the tragedies that we hear about and read about, the ones where 28 people get killed or 58 people get killed, but every day there are Virginians that die because of gun-related accidents, and we can do better. So I look forward to leading that discussion. Finally, I just want to tell you that transition is very, very important to me. We have had a great administration to work with, but you know, Virginia, as you know, is the only state in which you have 4 years, and that's it. And so we need to hit the ground running, and I plan to hit the ground running. That's one reason why I'm here this morning with 4 individuals that I feel very strongly about. And I'm going to set the bar high. I know people look at me and say, Ralph, you're a nice person, and I am a nice person, but I expect a lot, and Virginians expect a lot out of the future administration, the 73rd governor. So I want to introduce my co-chairs and my chairwoman of my transition team, and then we will be very anxious to get to work. So first of all, and just in no particular order, but the lady in blue behind me, Miss Joni Ivy, and I just want to read a little bit about their resumes to you so that you'll get a feel for what quality folks these are and what in the good position we're in Virginia. Joni served as Congressman Bobby Scott's long-term Chief of Staff, and now serves as a member of the state's parole board as well as the Virginia Commission on Higher Education Board appointments. This is the group that makes recommendations to the governor on Board of Visitor appointments. So, Joni, thank you so much for offering to be one of our co-chairs, and we look forward to working with you. Mr. Todd Stottlemyre, thank you for being with us today. Todd, as you all know, is the CEO of Innova's Center for Personalized Medicine. And I didn't want to get too much into the details, but when we talk about the cost of healthcare, the future of healthcare is in personalized medicine. And I am very excited, especially as a physician, to make Virginia the world-class leader in personalized healthcare. So Todd also serves as the rector of the Board of Visitors at William & Mary and is the past chair of Northern Virginia Technology Council. So Todd, thank you so much for agreeing to help us. Doris Krause-Mays, what a great relationship we have had over the years. And, you know, I didn't mention to you, but when we talk about the economy, one of the things that we really need to work on is bringing back our middle class in this country, and we can be leaders right here in Virginia. But we want to take care of those individuals that are the backbone of our economy, and that is the middle class. And we want to make sure that they have good jobs, that they have good salaries, good pensions, good benefits, and a safe environment to work in. So Doris, I appreciate you being part of this team. Doris is the president of Virginia's AFL-CIO, the first female to ever be elected to this post. Doris is a member of the Virginia Democratic Party Steering and Central Committee, and in 2008 she was elected to the Democratic National Committee. So Doris, we're very proud to have you as part of this team. Thank you so much. And finally, Mary Ann Ratcliffe. And I was going to save this comment for the end, Mary Ann, but maybe those of you that don't know, I am from the Eastern Shore, but so is Mary Ann Ratcliffe. And so we go back a ways. We share similar roots. We understand rural Virginia. And Mary Ann has served in multiple gubernatorial administrations, including in the Office of the Secretary of Transportation and as the legislative liaison for the Transportation Secretariat. She has over 18 years of private sector experience and was appointed to the Longwood University Board of Visitors in 2011 by Governor McDonnell and reappointed by Governor McAuliffe. She currently serves as the rector of the Longwood Board. A fellow native of the Eastern Shore, I have asked Mary Ann to serve as the director of my transition team. So Mary Ann, thank you for your friendship, your leadership, and your willingness to help move the Commonwealth forward. And finally, Clark Mercer will be the deputy director of our transition. Clark, you see, he is, all right, Clark, everybody knows Clark. Clark, you know, we're trying to promote Clark. He lives in the shadow of the Secretary of the Commonwealth, but, you know, we've had a lean staff, Kelly, down in the office of the Lieutenant Governor down in the Oliver Hill building. But Clark, thanks for your leadership, your friendship, and I look forward to having you as my chief of staff in the next 4 years, and we're going to get some great things done in the Commonwealth. So I will end there. I thank you all for being here the morning after an exciting day for the Commonwealth of Virginia. We're ready to get to work, and we're excited about doing the work of the Commonwealth. I'd be glad to take questions. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Governor-elect, congratulations.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good morning. Tom Fitzgerald from Channel 5 in D.C.
Yes, sir.
A lot of punditry has been placed upon your win in the last 13 hours. You deserve a crack at it. What were Virginia voters saying to President Trump by selecting you as their governor?
You know, I think there's been a lot of discussion over what this election meant, and I don't think there's any question that there are some policies that are coming out of Washington that are concerning to Virginians and are perhaps detrimental to Virginians. But I think what this message was yesterday that Virginia sent not only to this country but to this world is that the divisiveness, the hatred, the bigotry, the politics that is tearing this country apart that's not the United States of America that people love. It's certainly not the Commonwealth of Virginia that they love. And so I think people saw in Mark Herring, Justin Fairfax, and myself, and the delegates that were successful, Virginians that want to be public servants, that want to do things the Virginia way, that want to focus on the economy, to focus on Virginians having a job that they can support themselves and their families with, focusing on education to make sure that our children have access to world-class education, making sure that all of us have access to affordable and quality health care. That's the message that I heard, and that's what I heard as I traveled around Virginia. And we ran a very positive campaign. I had a great team, and I'm very proud of the work that we've done, and I'm ready to get ready for the work of Virginia. Yes. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Governor-elect. David Corbett, Channel 4 in D.C.
Yes, sir.
You certainly had a significant win last night. Still, though, more than 1 million people voted for Ed Gillespie. What would you say to those Virginians?
Well, first of all, I would like to compliment Ed. He called me last night, and of course, you know, we were in several debates, and we saw each other on the campaign trail. He's a good man, and he ran to make Virginia a better Commonwealth, and so I appreciate that. and Ed is willing to heal Virginia with me, to bring people together, and I look forward to working with him as we move forward. But you know, I mentioned last night in my talk, this is about Virginia, and there are obviously, as you said, over 1 million people that didn't vote for me. But one of the points that I like to make, and I made it last night, is that, you know, I've taken care of thousands of children and their families over the years, and never once has anybody asked me whether I'm a Democrat or a Republican, nor have I asked them. And that's the way I plan to govern in the upcoming 4 years. And so, as I said last night, I look forward to earning the respect and the trust of those that perhaps weren't on our team. But we're here to do what's in the best interest of Virginia, and I hope to bring everybody onto that team. Yes, sir.
Governor-elect Northam, Peter Tucci from Fox News. For the last couple decades, Virginia voters have almost always picked a governor, the opposite party of the White House.
Yes.
Do you think that last night was part of that trend, or do you think that it was part of what will be a national Democratic wave next year and then in 2020?
You know, it's hard to say. You know, Governor McAuliffe broke that trend 4 years ago. And I think it's really more about the person and the message and what we stand for. And so, again, we ran a positive campaign. We talked about jobs. We talked about education, healthcare, a clean environment, safe communities, and inclusivity. And I really think that that's what resonated, and that's what people voted for yesterday. That's what they want. That's the Virginia way, and that's the way we're going to move forward. Yes, Alan?
Were you surprised by the eventual outcome?
You know, Alan, this is my 6th campaign that I've run. I usually come in around 10 points. So you know, so I was a little bit shy of that last night, but you know, it was pretty much par for the course for our campaign. Yes, sir. Yes.
I was talking to former Governor McDonald last night and asked him what advice he had for
Yes.
you, and I wanted to get your reaction to it.
All right, guys, we're going to take it back into the newsroom here. I'm here with Veronica Cleary, who is at his headquarters last night?
His headquarters last night in Fairfax.
And this was, again, his speech from earlier this morning around 10 o'clock Eastern time. And we're just kind of replaying it, obviously garnering a few laughs from the crowd and talking about his...
Having problems here with Mike.
No,
I think that works. It's good I have a black shirt on so no one can see how bad that looks.
He congratulated Ed Gillespie. He said a couple words. I was trying to listen to some of it. And we're here with Monica, who was there last night. So tell us what it was like to kind of be part of this election night and what was special about it, and just a little recap.
It was unusual, I think, because it didn't really... For the people in the room, you know, I'm supposed to be there as an observer, but you certainly pick up on the energy of the room and what's happening. It certainly didn't at all times necessarily feel like a special night for the people who were there. We were at times like kind of laughing about it on air. I remember Sean Yancey just kept saying to me, do they know that they just won? Because the room was a little...
Lackluster?
Lackluster.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, there were times when it picked up and people were shouting and excited, and then they did have a musical performance. But I mean, I took some pictures last night, and that's why I said if we want to show some of my Twitter feed, there's this picture. Go down. Yeah, go a little earlier in the night than that.
There's you.
That one.
Yeah.
This is after he won.
Let's see.
And you can just
no balloons.
Everyone just, you know, chilling. The room is half empty. I mean, it just wasn't necessarily what you expected. And you can see people are just chatting on their phones. And this guy, I think he was on The Voice or something. He was a really good singer, actually. And so they're just, you know, I mean, like I said, it picked up as the night went on. I think when they had a lot of Democratic heavyweights come out and speak. So they had Senator Kaine, Senator Warner, the DNC chair, Tom Perez, come out. So when they spoke, Governor Terry McAuliffe came out to speak. When they spoke, I think it picked up the momentum a little bit. I brought this. This was just, I mean, I don't know. I think people like to see things from behind the scenes. This was
did I?
Your
press, that's from last night.
So this was from last night. Just, you know.
I love it.
A little behind the scenes stuff. So
really cool.
I think when they spoke, they definitely rallied the crowd because that was, you know, they're obviously big supporters of the Democratic Party. They were very excited about the victory. So I think that added to the enthusiasm. Now, actually, can we play videos up?
Yeah, I can play some of this one.
Let's play this one. So this was a wrinkle in the night for Ralph Northam. the governor-elect. This was in the evening, right as he came out on stage. Protesters started protesting, and they were not
interesting. Here we
not
go.
Republicans. They were protesters who are arguably more progressive, further left than Ralph Northam. So the moment he came out to speak, these protesters lifted up these signs. I don't know if I had my phone up fast enough to see the security guard take him off stage immediately, but they're saying on those signs, which you can sort of see, it says "Sanctuary for All." So there was a big debate leading up to the election on Ralph Northam's stance on sanctuary cities across the state of Virginia. Now, the debate really got lost in the weeds because they're illegal in Virginia. So the idea was, why are we even debating this? They're illegal, but the question was, would he support them if they, if there was a sanctuary city in the state? Then he came out and said, no, he would not support any sanctuary cities in the state of Virginia. And a progressive group came out and actually called him a racist for that. And so it was interesting to see. I mean, you might think of Republicans coming into a night like this and maybe protesting or something, but these were people who are progressives and liberals and Democrats, but further left than Ralph Northam is saying that he is, by saying that he would not support sanctuary cities, which I think is arguably now, I would think that's an issue that falls on the left, that many people on the left support sanctuary cities. And so they were protesting and saying he needs to support sanctuary for all. So that was, I think, we knew it was a controversy. I did an interview with Governor McAuliffe at around 5 o'clock, and I asked him about this because it was so controversial leading up to the race. So it certainly was something people were talking about, but I don't know that anybody expected protesters to come and protest this. But
yeah, it's an interesting video.
He has some people in his own party who are not necessarily happy about him, and maybe they would have liked the other candidate, Tom Perriello, though I shouldn't say I know exactly where he stands on that issue because we haven't covered him for some time, but he was an arguably more progressive, left-leaning candidate in the primary who Ralph Northam beat in the Democratic primary for governor. So that kind of, and then he came out and continued to speak and pretended like it never happened.
Yeah.
Which I think is what most politicians do. They don't really address the protest. Well, some address the protesters. I shouldn't say they don't, because that's definitely not true. Yeah. I used to cover Chris Christie, and he would always engage the protesters.
Speaking of that,
was different.
Right, the end of Chris Christie's reign yesterday.
Right, exactly. But Ralph Northam came out. He spoke about unity, not just unifying the party, but unifying the state. He gave a very unifying message in his remarks.
That's great. I think we took that live to our Facebook wall on Fox 5 DC, so we had a lot of that coverage last night, and you were obviously sending your live shots back into all the shows late last night.
Yes, it was really fun.
It
was nice.
It's cool.
It was late.
It was late, right? Did you say
past my bedtime?
Yeah.
Yes, we were. We did a hit for the Final Five at 11:30, but it was Jim was so much fun to talk to, and that's such a great show. And we, he asked me some really silly questions about the evening, because in that show we can have a little more fun. So he wanted to know if there was a cash bar.
I think there was a cash bar.
And things like that. So we obviously talked about the evening as well, but we were having a little fun with.
And I know concurrently we had Tom Fitzgerald over at Ed Gillespie's headquarters in Richmond.
Yes, much farther away.
I have yet to kind of talk to him about how that went. I saw some of his tweets, but
he was there this morning because we actually really wanted to get the governor-elect on Good Day DC today, or one of our morning programs. We invited him on, but it is a tradition for the governor-elect to have a breakfast.
That might be important for your interview.
We'll get that later. I'm not going to answer here, but to have a press conference and I think attends a breakfast of some sort in Richmond the day after election night. And so Tom was there to cover that this morning. So it was kind of nice that he was down there, but he got stuck down there because it's far. You're not going to go home the night.
He was down there, right. I'm curious what Terry McAuliffe, current governor and now stepping down eventually, what he mentioned in his remarks last night. Was that interesting? Or
yeah, they were all very interesting. So I would say that the Democratic players who spoke, like Tim Kaine, Mark Warner, Terry McAuliffe, Tom Perez, the DNC chair, their message was really that this race was a win against Donald Trump, if you will, that these were votes. I wish I could remember exactly who said what, because it blurs together, but one person said, I think it was Tim Kaine, he said, Virginia is now a blue state. I think it was also Tim Kaine who said, you know, Donald Trump is out of town for this and he's going to come back to a brand new America. Maybe that was Tom Perez. I'm sorry. I was really focused on what Ralph Northam had to say for our hits, but I was listening to all of them, obviously. But it was really this idea that this was a referendum against Donald Trump. But the interest that was their message that they were trying to spread. The interesting thing, though, and I mentioned this a little bit, is that when Ralph Northam came out, that didn't feel like what he was trying to say. I mean, he was just focused on unity, and he was so happy. He was thanking his wife. I mean, it was so he had a very different tone than some of the big party leaders in the state, which I thought was interesting that he chose not to go there. But I don't think it's in his nature to be as combative, and I think that that's more fitting with him. I think the times when we've seen him take stances or say things that are a little more combative, he had this notorious advertisement in the primary, which arguably helped him win the primary, but when he called Donald Trump a narcissistic maniac, a lot of people said that felt like it was out of character for Ralph Northam, because that doesn't always seem like his style. So, but this is politics, and people do different things, and I don't know his real intentions behind it. But last night, it felt like classic Ralph Northam, who was very much about, you know, not railing against, polarizing, railing against the opposition. He was just there to talk about unifying the party and winning in the future of Virginia. So that he really, to me, stood in contrast.
Might be important.
I wonder if it is
let her get it if
important.
she needs to.
Should I get it?
If you want to.
I don't know how I feel about this.
No, well, if you want to, unless we can get back to it.
Hello, this is Veronica. This is live.
Live on the show.
Hi, Tristan. May I call you back in a few minutes? I'm doing a live stream on Facebook. But
it's like triple.
Yeah, it is cool. But you're on right now because I said hi to you on the phone. But but it rang twice and I didn't have your number saved, so we thought we should pick up.
Yeah. Like, what is that?
I'll call you back in a few minutes. Okay, bye-bye.
That's funny.
See, we're very authentic here, unscripted.
Totally
very real.
Unscripted.
I'm glad I got that, but
now you know what it is.
Now I know what it was. Working on another story for today, which we can talk about a little bit if you want. But that's kind of the vibe of the evening.
This is
cool. I sent you guys. That's
a bunch of retweets.
Oh, so this was
way after.
This was after they spoke, and it was so. This is what I was saying though. When the Democrats spoke, when the leaders spoke afterwards, they had the music playing. People were so excited. So that's when it really started to feel like a party. And then I joked with Jim about this when I did that with him. At around 11:20, they came on the loudspeaker and they basically said, "Please leave the room." Please leave the room.
Oh yeah, I saw your tweet on that.
Everybody out,
and then like, I have to do my hit.
You know, it was just kind of funny because people seemed like they were. I mean, it was quieting down by that point, but people really seemed to have fun, and some of the leaders were walking through the crowds, and people wanted to take pictures with them, and that felt much more like the victory night you expected the whole night to feel like. But it just took a little while, I guess, for it to get there. So.
Yeah. No, really quickly, I noticed. President Trump tweeted once last night, right, about this.
Jerome.
Hey, Jerome. And we'll bring it in just into the double screen. This was the one tweet that I saw that stood out that was about this election. Now he's in Asia.
Yes.
And he basically, and I think both candidates were trying to distance themselves a little bit from President Trump, right?
Oh yeah.
Because
well, that was the whole debate leading up to this race. The fact that Ed Gillespie, 100%. I mean. If we read this tweet, it says Ed Gillespie worked hard but did not embrace me or what I stand for. That is truthful. That is 100% true.
Yeah.
Ed Gillespie worked very hard to distance himself from Donald Trump. Donald Trump, in fact, if we went back and dug up the old tweets, there were a few tweets where Donald Trump tried to endorse Ed Gillespie on Twitter, and Gillespie wouldn't even say Trump's name. I mean, he just said, "Well, of course, a Republican president stands by a Republican candidate." I mean, because Gillespie is a much more establishment, traditional Republican, but he did not embrace the Trumpian style or the Trumpian message, and. You know, however you feel about the second part of the tweet where he's just talking about the future of the Republican Party, obviously Donald Trump the president wants to convey that he thinks there's still a great future in spite of what happened last night in Virginia. The first part of that tweet is 100% true, that Gillespie really did not embrace the president's message, philosophy or style. in this campaign. And the debate leading up to this was, is that a good strategy or a bad strategy?
Right.
Did it help or hurt him?
Yeah.
I don't know if he embraced him if he would have won. That's the thing we'll never know, but there's 100% true that he certainly did not.
Yeah, interestingly too, really quickly before we have to go, the stats from yesterday's turnout were quite large, isn't that right?
Yes.
Large, going far back into the 90s.
I think actually, I have a statistic here from the campaign that they gave me about 3 counties. It's not that important, but it was one of the things I shared in one of my hits.
Yeah.
Because you're doing so many hits through the evening, you're trying to get different information out to the viewers. Unfortunately, I go back and forth from my phones, and I don't know which one. If I can't find it quickly, then I won't bore you too much longer to find it.
No, that's fine. Because we were talking even in the editorial meeting this morning, and I think someone mentioned it was the largest since '94.
So I actually don't know about that. That I can't comment on. But I do know that one of the things that they were eager and pleased about, this was as the results started to come in, they confirmed that Fairfax, Arlington, and Alexandria counties, they had turnout higher than 2013. And so for them, those are blue counties, and they said, this is a good sign for us. This is promising. So they were very pleased about that. But funny, and they told me they knocked on more than 1 million doors in the past 4 days leading up to it. But the funny thing is, for touting that success at the polls, one of the things that someone with the campaign said to me about last night, they were really worried about the weather affecting the turnout of the party.
It was a crazy blustering day.
So it was pretty bad at night.
Maybe
you think, if you already voted, you think, I'm not going to go to the party. I'm inside now or something. I mean, maybe that's why it was not as enthusiastic. Maybe it was the weather for the party, but it didn't seem to affect the turnout.
To the turnout, yeah, really interesting to see that. And a good thing for Virginia, they showed up, and that's exciting.
Important. You got to vote, but you have to. I mean, you have to vote in the primary. Please, voting in a general or voting in the presidential election is great, but I just get frustrated when people don't vote in the primaries. That is way more important if you really want to influence the direction of your party. I mean, the whole idea of Gillespie not embracing the president, I mean, if you're annoyed by that, Corey Stewart ran against Ed Gillespie, who is a much more Trump-like candidate, and he lost the primary. So if that was what you would have rather seen in the general election, and you didn't vote in the primary, well, then you should have nothing to say about it. You know, you don't have a right to say anything about it because you didn't get out there and vote when it mattered, if you will, in picking and selecting a candidate in terms of your party's philosophies, because these parties are so diverse on both sides. The candidates are so different. The same with the Democrats, Ralph Northam versus Tom Perriello. Perriello was a much more progressive, farther left-leaning candidate, and so you needed to vote for him if that's what you wanted your Democratic candidate to be. So I'll get down off my soapbox.
No, cool. That's great. Thanks for all the insight, Ronica. We're going to let her go do your other story.
I put this on. Oh, good. I was afraid I took this out.
It. That's a lot of great info. Really cool to kind of see your social media tracking of last night. It's fun.
It was a lot of fun. Well, thanks, guys. I always love being here, and I'll try to come back more often.
Yeah, whenever we can grab her, we will. Thanks, Ronica. She'll slide out. Yeah. And I want to show you guys the interview kind of going on this from yesterday, or from this morning rather, from the first transgender state legislator to be elected in Virginia. Her name is Danica Roem, and we had that interview this morning. I'm going to cue that up so you guys can see it. Pretty interesting stuff, and we're going to see if we can grab Bob Barnard, who covered that, to kind of talk about what it was like meeting her in the interview and where we go from here.
Election to become a state lawmaker. Tell me what you're thinking this morning.
Well, what I'm thinking is that when we're talking about it's being historic, it will be historic when a transgender woman finally helps fix Route 28, because that's what I'm here to do. I mean, like, this is why I ran. I was very, very specific about the issues I was running on, my qualifications, being a reporter myself. You know, I worked for the Gainesville Times here for 9 years, 2 months and 2 weeks. I was the news editor of the Montgomery County Sentinel over in Maryland. And so, you know, local journalism is where I learned public policy. And I'm going to bring a reporter's sensibilities to Richmond here so that we can actually accomplish the things I'm setting out to do without hyperbole, without discrimination, and basically making sure that we create a more inclusive Commonwealth. So no matter what you look like, where you come from, how you worship, or who you love, you are welcomed and celebrated in Virginia because of who you are, not despite it.
What does it say that you beat Bob Marshall by something like 9 points?
Well, it says that voters really, my message, fix in 28, by replace, and it was very specific about it. I said, replace the traffic lights with overpasses through Centerville. There's one difficult area to do it by Centerville Elementary. The rest of it is perfectly feasible. And installing a flyover in the 2 southbound left-hand turn lanes at Orchard Bridge Drive over in Yorkshire, because traffic lights stop traffic, and we have existing precedent from VDOT when they took out all the lights from Route 7 all the way down to Westfields Boulevard some years ago. And that means that, look, we have the money to do this. We have existing precedent to do this. It's time to get it done. And I was on the phone with Senator Mark Warner last night, and my first ask to him, I said, the people of the 13th District badly need these traffic lights removed and replaced with overpasses. Can you help me out? And so him and I talked shop, and we're going to get it done.
I'll tell you, we were out there this morning. I think we've been showing our viewers some video. People talk about a 2-hour commute from the Manassas area, say, to Tyson's Corner or the city. It looks ridiculous, and that's one of the campaign issues you ran on. Right. What about the fact that you're going to go down to Richmond and do battle? Are you prepared? I mean, you're a novice, right? You've never held any public office before.
Well, the people of the 13th District thought that I was well qualified and experienced enough to do a good job. And, by bringing a reporter's sensibilities to Richmond, I believe in accountability. I'll be, every reporter who covers the General Assembly will have my cell phone number. And the same, I gave out my cell phone number to thousands of people across the 13th District in handwritten notes for the last 10 months. I understand that accountability is extremely important, and that having transparency and open dialogue with neutral, disinterested third-party observers, reporters, I want to make sure that, by having transparency, we know that sunshine is the best disinfectant, and the best way I can do my job is to make sure that we're shining a light on as much of the General Assembly as possible so people can see the legislative process and basically be able to go, you know what? I like how this is going, or I don't, and they're going to be able to talk to their own legislators about that to create change if they need to, or say, hey, how come you won't record a vote in subcommittee? How come you won't do X, Y, and Z stuff? And also by electing a reporter, and by electing someone with my profile right now, I don't have to take money from for-profit corporations and their business associates in order to be successful. As far as I'm concerned, look at our fundraising on this. I mean, I don't need them in order to do a good job. And I said, and I mean it, I will not take any campaign contributions as a candidate or an incumbent from Dominion Energy because of their outsized influence in Richmond. We have got to change the culture in Richmond, and sending 2 reporters between myself and Chris Hurst, that's a great way, that's a great start.
All right, Danica, congratulations. Thank you very much. And the incumbent she beat, Bob Marshall, was one who had proposed this bathroom bill that never made it out of committee last year. So a sea change here in Northern Virginia.
All right, guys. So I'm here with Bob.
You cut me off.
I just cut his voice off.
He's long-winded.
I mean, there he is again. So dual shot. I'm here with Bob, who covered this morning, and we're going to take it back in to sort of the digital desk here. So to talk a little more about this interview and what it was like covering the story today. This is big news for Virginia.
Oh my gosh, it's big news really for the country.
Yeah.
I mean, especially, it's kind of interesting too because, Danica won District 13 represented by Bob Marshall, very conservative Republican, who's the one who sponsored that bathroom bill in the General Assembly last year. It never made it out of committee, but he wanted, public restrooms throughout Virginia to be for the gender that you were born, not that you identify with. So in this case, that someone like Danica Roem would have to use the men's room, not the women's room. That failed. She ended up beating him, so he lost to the first openly transgender candidate to win a seat in the state legislature throughout our country, and it's in Virginia, here in Northern Virginia, Manassas Park. In that area.
Here, and you were there this morning, and
pretty cool.
Did you happen to mention that to her? Did she say anything, or did you talked about it?
Oh yeah,
I didn't hear it in the
Yeah, we chatted ahead of time and afterward and stuff, and then we were just live there. But as you can tell, she's really into the politics and stuff, and really, I think as Holly mentioned soon after our interview, that she didn't dwell on her being transgender.
Yeah.
She didn't hide it, obviously. It was part of her campaign. But when we talked about her new job coming up next year, she was all excited about getting down to Richmond and getting to work. And I think she mentioned it there about Route 28, we started our morning live along Route 28 in that Manassas Park area. Oh my God, it's brutal. People say it takes 2 hours to get to work. You know, you leave Manassas, you work in Tyson's Corner or downtown Washington, 2 hours, and it was just a parking lot. And so that's what Danica says she wants to do. I mean, she will happen to be a transgender state lawmaker, but what she wants to do is try to fix the congestion on Route 28 by removing a lot of traffic lights and things like that. So, I mean, she's got a purpose, not just to be a first, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I like that. I think for people to, like Holly even said, for people to make this just about that, of course that became a big story. It's a big thing.
Fascinating,
it's the first
absolutely.
thing. Right, it's something that people are going to headline with, but it's cool that she kind of brought it back to, here's my platform. This is what's important to me, and
being a local journalist, she kind of knows how governing bodies work, and she wants to be a part of it to make a change. But also, if you watch any of her campaign commercials, she talks about how she hopes her story will inspire young people who are transgender, that whatever it is you want to do, even if it's politics, in the rough and tumble world of politics, you can be successful.
Yeah. Did she mention anything when you asked her about beating the guy that created this bill? Did she say anything, nothing obviously inflammatory, but anything that was interesting or just sort of?
No, but he wouldn't debate her. I mean, he's a veteran. I think Bob Marshall spent 26 years in the General Assembly. We've interviewed him a ton of times over the years, and he's very solidly conservative with most of his positions on cultural issues as well as political issues. But that fact alone, that he wouldn't debate her. And maybe he thought it was a joke. Maybe he thought he didn't have to. He'd won re-election so many times, and now he's facing a transgender candidate in his district where he proposed this bathroom bill.
Isn't that amazing?
Maybe he didn't take it seriously enough, and she
right,
won.
that's
possible. But she wasn't
like
trashing him or piling on, just very excited about her opportunity.
Did she note the irony kind of, or was it sort of just
It was clear. It was clear that, here was the guy. I mean, it's Bob Marshall. I mean, especially up here, maybe in Southwest Virginia, they don't know of Bob Marshall as much. But as well, but here in Northern Virginia, he's the conservative Republican. Please move it along.
Get out of our shot.
Conservative lawmaker, state lawmaker in this area. And so, I mean, it certainly wasn't lost on her that that's who she was challenging and who she beat.
Yeah, totally. And a really big day for Virginia. We were just talking to Veronica Cleary about this, who was at the headquarters last night of Ralph Northam, won for governor. A lot of people coming out yesterday. Just turnout was big, and it was a
Despite
big day.
the weather too, it was an awful day weather-wise. It was cold and rainy, and the roads were slick and all that. But people went out; they were compelled, and it's interesting how it all shook out. And she's the expert on all of this. But, I think it's fascinating, and as people look back on it and study it and kind of evaluate what actually happened, it'll be interesting to see what they make of it. Was it a fluke? What does it mean for next year?
Right, it will
the midterm elections and other statewide elections across the country next year. It'll be interesting.
Exactly.
Is today a year that Trump was elected?
Oh my gosh, it's November 7th. I think it was the 7th, which is yesterday. Oh wait, today. Maybe it was the 8th.
I think it's the 8th
you're
because last year the Tuesday would have been the 8th. Yeah, so I think it's funny how a year ago today Trump was elected president, and we're looking forward to next year to see what what happened in Virginia tells for going forward.
I was just thinking that yesterday. I was like, it's Tuesday's election day. I remember November 7th as a date. Maybe another day, election day years ago was the 7th, and I just remembered it. But oh my God.
I'm kidding.
I was wrong. I know. Right?
I must say, I love early November when the other day, I forget which day, I think it might have been the 4th, but it was the 25th anniversary of Bill Clinton getting elected president for the first time. And you look through all these dates. I think November 8th was the anniversary of John F. Kennedy being elected in 1960.
There's so many memories from that first week.
So, and first week in November. So I think the 8th, which is Wednesday this year, was Tuesday last year. I think this is the one-year anniversary of Trump rocking the world.
I'm surprised that didn't come out more in tweets in the news. Maybe there wasn't a story about it, although...
Because I'm probably wrong.
No.
Right. I think it was
you're
the 8th.
right. Yeah, I didn't even recall it, but that's neat about the Bill Clinton thing too, the history.
Yeah, and then
it's cool to see that.
Ronald Reagan was elected this day, and I saw the other day there was the picture of Harry Truman holding up Dewey defeats Truman. He won in 48. So
history's
this is an interesting anniversary date.
Really cool, and the turnout and everything that happened in Virginia is interesting considering the now political climate, and obviously this year that we've been through, it's been interesting. It's been polarizing in some ways for people, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes down with the scholars and why this all was.
And did it drive people who last year didn't vote to go to the polls this year, saying, "Look, I thought Hillary was going to win, so why bother?" she didn't, and you're licking your wounds if that's not how you wanted it to go. So this year, maybe people, despite the weather and what have you, were like, if I want my voice to count, I got to go vote. And large numbers did. And so we'll see if that maybe is a good story for, you know, inspiring others next year to, hey, if you have an opinion and a position, you got to vote.
Absolutely. It really was amazing how bad the weather was yesterday. It was one of the worst I've seen this year.
Good though. At one point I was in the minivan taking the kids home from something, and traffic was bad on Connecticut Avenue here in Montgomery County, and it was cool because you're like, you know, it's cold, but it's warm in the car and it's raining, and it, you know, I kind of like it. I don't like to be standing out in it.
You're right in your live
recording,
shots.
but
fall is here.
It's fall. It's November.
We're happy.
Rain, cold, and
awesome.
Elections.
You're right. Thanks, Bob, for sitting down. You're the best.
No problem. No,
it's always good to talk to Bob.
Nice talking to you.
Love his stories in the morning. We always try to grab him if he's around. And
Thank you.
You did a package for later tonight. So
yes, as long as Gary's not around. Interfere.
Get him out of here.
See you.
All right, guys, we're going to go to a live shot now of, see what's coming up next here. There is going to be a House press conference, the Democrats in the House on DACA. And it looks like we just have sort of a bump shot of a podium right now, but we'll take you there live because that's what we have, bumped along with a live shot of the White House on this gorgeous fall day. Take a look, guys, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know where that was there or dog. Damn, I can't find that dress. Huh? Oh, I heard that. Yeah. I'm trying to Monday through Thursday. Well, I mean, I also work on Fridays at our office off of New Jersey. Usually I'm working on a small end of internship project. It's about marijuana legalization or legislation. More so about, I guess, how communities would be affected by federal crackdown. They have a lot of roles. They pretty much don't do anything. Yeah, there would be a lot of people, a lot of innocent people affected that are using like cannabis or CBD oil for treatment. And people using it for pain and seizures and a bunch of other nasty things. I had the most difficult with this anti-marijuana advocacy group. He tried asking me if I smoked marijuana. I was like, dude, I'm not going to answer that. He kept pushing me and pushing me. You know, oh, well, I'm just going to assume that you do. It's like, you didn't even say it. Well,
like she's talking about
I don't know, so you can have a more conversation.
Oh man, she
You ever have a really bad interview before?
Oh yeah. I did a story about this pastor in a small following, but then
cult following. She's on a beat. She's not. She's tall and like. You've probably seen a few of these crazy lectures. Steve Anderson, this guy. No. That's another one. Yeah, that's one of them. She's only 2 colors. I adore. It's like they struggle every day. This will be in there. So I sat down with her. I'm showing you. She's my dog. This is the one. So this is. Oh wow. Yeah, she's tall and like I couldn't figure out if this guy was just crazy. She's like 55 now. Actually, she's and this is the one she's sitting up on a wall. Yeah, he had a very he actually commented on my article. So bad. Her ears so well in this industry that I'm learning that I learned a lot and push the agenda.
That's a good reference.
Yeah. I was covering the Ohio pardon, and someone gave me a cell phone number.
How'd you get his cell phone number? Or how that person get his cell phone number?
He did some interview with him. Oh, this one is
I'm sure.
Somehow they got it. So he just picks up his phone. Hello. It's just a really awkward interview. Forgot what I was going to ask, and it just was really good. Yeah, I thought it was stupid. That is.
Did he go with it though? Like a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure he like that average block now. I don't know. I can't remember what he said. Like, are you sure 60 minutes? And asking questions based on comments. Okay. Yeah, I've had better. And it's so much to watch. Or anywhere without a collar. No one's like shy at me. Just like the George. It's just free reign. It's like, I have freedom. Scurry away.
Poor John King. And it didn't push me. What?
I know what's happening. I know what's going on here.
Probably.
So Norgate.
So you have 2 new seats up for grabs?
Yeah, we wrote a story about that too.
I don't want a dumb dog. I don't want a dog that's smarter than me.
I used to be an SRO at a local high school. I was a medic in the military. They called me Doc was my nickname. So a lot of things just kind of fell into place, and it's just amazing. I can tell you, I feel like our paths crossed for a reason. I don't know him too well. I met him last year when he made the donation and we met. But I think I know him more, on a deeper level. Not even having to talk to him. Just having that relationship and things in common. So.
Do you remember that conversation with him when he made that donation?
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I was like a kid in a candy store when he autographed Doc's collar and he signed my hat, and it was kind of like, it's not every day you see a famous person here in Pasco, So, he just said, I just told him thank you several times and that we were going to make him proud, and that's what we're aiming to do, to continue to do, and carry on his legacy.
So Roy's nickname obviously was Doc. Was the name a no-brainer when you created?
Yes, actually, we don't get to choose the name, so we have most of our dogs are bought with donations from citizens or local companies and businesses. So Doc was named after his, in his honor, basically, to carry on his legacy, for his donation. So, and that's how he got his name. So, and I'm completely okay with it. It's an awesome name. So.
Did he sign that collar?
This harness, no, I have the it's Doc's actual first collar from when we first got him, and my favorite hat. So I do have it in the truck, but it's put away. I can bring that out if you want later.
I'd like to see that.
So yeah, it's definitely, I didn't want to get it ruined, so Doc tends to get a little dirty sometimes. So.
Can you talk about your bond with Doc? Because that's a pretty special bond.
Oh, with Doc, I can tell you, like I said, I've had dogs since I was a teenager, of all types, and I can tell you I have 2 more at home, and taking nothing against the dogs I have at home or the ones I've had, Doc, his personality is just, he's happy all the time. I mean, there's days I wake up and I'm like, oh, my body hurts, I don't want to go to work, and Doc's looking at me like, let's go, you bum, let's go to work. I put that harness on him, and all he wants to do, he's the first, he beats me to the truck, beats me out the door. So he's just got a passion to work. Similar to Roy, you know, his passion when he pitched in baseball, that was his craft, that's what he did good. And that's what Doc enjoys doing. He enjoys, you know, finding drugs, but he also knows how to relax, you know. Roy's hobby was flying planes and fishing. Doc's hobbies are getting home and not listening to me, you know, and eating ice cubes. And so, but I think the key is there, like I look at him and he just reminds me and other people that he meets on a day-to-day basis to be happy, stay positive. You know, even when things are getting rough or look rough or not good, he has a way of making you happy just by wiggling, you know. So he loves everybody. So he's going to carry on Doc's legacy for sure. So.
Can you talk about some of his success stories and how many bad guys you've gotten? He's been on the streets.
Yes, I can. I don't know the exact numbers, so don't hold me to it. But I can tell you our 4th day out after training, we actually were able to seize the most expensive car in Pasco history, which was it was a Porsche Panamera off one of our local drug dealers who's now in prison. So that was really awesome, coming out 4 days after certifying together and training and finding this Porsche hidden in a storage unit. Across the way, I mean, we've made countless drug arrests. And the big thing for me is not only is he really good at finding dope and getting that off the streets, but we do a lot of demos at different places, at senior citizen centers, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools. So interacting with other kids and letting them see that, hey, he's a dog just like the dog you have at home, but he has a job, but he's also friendly. We take him to community events so people can see, you know, he's a friendly dog, you know, he's just a happy dog, and he's really a good example of what the agency is. You know, we're trying to reach out to the community and let them know that we're people and we have pets just like, you know, normal people do. So.
Is there anything that we're missing asking you that you wanted to say?
No, I just want to say thank you to the Halladay family, and you know, we're with y'all, you know, in spirit. I'm trying not to get emotional, so but hopefully we can continue to make them proud and keep dope off the streets. And Doc is definitely gonna, you know, he's gonna make his mark just like Roy did. So.
What is it that you're thinking about? Is it because of the donation, you know, after your mom had passed away, or just the emotion that you lost?
It's a lot, you know. Even though I didn't know him too well, it's almost like he's a brother, you know. Just not a. It's a lot. It's a lot of emotion, you know. Doc has been, I can't tell you how much of a blessing he's been. So, without the donation, you know, the citizens of Pasco would be missing out on K9 Doc. So.
Can we see the collar?
Yes, I can go grab it. No problem.
Can I get another shot real quick? Is it okay if I step forward, guys? Was there a shortage?
Isn't that a cool story, guys? That is the dog that Roy Halladay actually donated to the department in Pasco County, Florida. The canine that has now just been introduced to the public, and he got his name from him. Of course, as we've been talking about, Halladay died in a plane crash on Friday. But it looks like this press conference right here on Capitol Hill is just starting. We're going to go there full screen. The House Democrats.
I hope that the Republican majority will present an American budget. I pray and hope they do not present a Republican budget. If they do present a Republican budget, there's a majority. It's because they have 218 votes. If they don't have the 218 votes, I can say today very clearly and very emphatically, I want to work with you. But it must be representative of our values and our ideals. We want a clean DREAM Act. That is what it's going to take to get me and others to sign on to vote for a budget. Now, the Republicans, you'll say, they don't need you, Luis. They're already 240 plus strong. Only need 218 votes. I'm just saying, if you need me, if you don't find the votes, you know where you can find people that will be reliable in working with you so that we can get to 218 votes. Now, if you present to us a Republican budget, I know it's because you have 218 votes of your majority. And if you don't, we are here ready. Vamos a ser bien claro. Hoy firmaron una carta 25 congresistas demócratas. Y nuestro planteamiento es claro y sencillo. Nosotros estamos esperanzados de que se presente un presupuesto realmente bipartita, donde republicanos y demócratas pueden trabajar juntos. Si los republicanos deciden que ellos van a presentar para votación un presupuesto para continuar con la apertura del gobierno que es republicano, entonces nosotros les deseamos suerte y esperamos que de su inmensa mayoría, de más de 240 republicanos, ellos tienen 218 votos. ¿Oh, no los tienen? ¿No tienen 218 votos? ¿Necesitan nuestros votos? Nosotros aquí estamos listos para darle nuestro apoyo. Pero tiene que ser un presupuesto que representa nuestros ideales y nuestras prioridades. Una ley para los soñadores, claro, que los lleve a la ciudadanía es lo que nosotros esperamos si piensan que van a tener nuestros votos. And now I want to introduce my colleague from Arizona, Raul Halladay. Please, Raul.
Thank you. And Luis, Line, while we're here, I think we need to put this backdrop right now. There was an election last night in which the voters across this country, but primarily Virginia, in the Commonwealth, rejected the politics of nationalism tied to bigotry. They rejected the Banyan-Trump making a focal point of immigrants and making a focal point of the ads that they did. They went in a different direction. The voters went in a different direction. They cared about issues. They weren't fear-mongered into voting a certain way. And I think that the majority here, the Republican majority in the House, under Ryan's leadership, should not be stampeded into doing something that falls along those same lines of being punitive and not keeping your word. From the beginning, from the discussions that Trump had with our leadership, from the indications early on from the leadership of the House, the Republican leadership, that at some point we were going to deal with the DREAM Act and we were going to deal with it in a proactive way. Time goes by, it's become a game of extortion, holding these young people hostage in order to get other items on that agenda, dealing with enforcement and other extremist kind of positions that some of their caucus has regarding this issue. So we are plainly saying you have the votes to pass your budget. You have the vote to pass those extreme measures within your own budget with 240 votes. We want a clean DREAM Act. We want you to meet that pending commitment that you made, not only to Democrats, but to the Dreamers themselves and those organizations. And by doing so, we are prepared to work on a budget that extends not only just the hard right positions, but extends what is fundamentally what the American people want in a budget. But for us, it's the DREAM Act. If they can do it without our support, pass a budget, more power to them. But the fact of the matter is that the last time this resolution was passed, 90 Republicans from their caucus voted against their own, against the continuing resolution in the budget. And we are open to that discussion, that Luis said so eloquently, to have that discussion and to work together toward making sure that we don't no longer hold these young people in limbo and continue this very torturous process that's been going on now for far too long. They made a commitment. We're asking que tienen que cumplir, and we're prepared to not support a budget that does not give us the opportunity to do something right and proper for the Dreamers. Right and proper, and it's been a pending commitment that was made a long time ago. So we look forward to any discussions that opens up. And I want to thank Luis and everybody else that signed the letter. This is, on our part, not an idle threat. It is an expression of support. We will not be bullied. We don't want these kids to be bullied into doing something and ignoring a very important domestic issue, and that is the 800,000 lives being affected by no action in this, by this Congress. So with that, thank you very much. And
Thank you so much, Representative Gutierrez and Representative Grijalva and all of my incredible colleagues who are here. 15 years. 15 years is how long I've been working on this issue on the outside. My colleagues here, some of them have been working on it that long on the inside. After 9/11, we were told we couldn't pass immigration reform at that time. There were other priorities that the country had to deal with. Then there was the Immigrant Workers' Freedom Ride in 2003 that went across the country. We had people across the country recognizing that our immigration system needed to be fixed. And along the way, all of the attempts that we've made to pass the DREAM Act, then to pass DACA, finally a successful attempt because of the Dreamers and because of the activism in the streets, and now to continue to see the hypocritical statements from the administration saying we want to fix this, we want a permanent solution, Congress should have a permanent solution, when in fact there's been no attempts really to put forward a permanent solution, to bring a bill to the floor. And so we have to be clear about what our priorities are. We have to be clear about what our stance is if there is not a Clean Dream Act included. And again, as Luis said, they have 248 votes. So they can pass a budget without Democrats. But if they want Democratic support, then we want to make clear what our priorities need to be. And passing a Clean Dream Act and making sure that we refuse to allow this continual playing football with dreamers, with real people's lives. And by the way, this is not a partisan issue. This is not an issue where Republicans and Democrats disagree that we should, across the country I'm talking about, not just here in Congress, the American people across the country believe that we should have a solution for undocumented dreamers in this country to be able to stay, to be able to have a path to citizenship, and that solution should not be contingent on anything else. So this is about doing what is good for dreamers, but also what is good for the country. And it's about actually working together, allowing a bill to come forward that, if it came forward today, would absolutely have the votes that it needed to pass. And so our stance here is there's a budget coming up, a continuing resolution, excuse me, and if they've got the votes to do it on their own, as Luis said, fine. But I'm just saying, as you said, we're just saying that if you need our votes, then include a Clean Dream Act. And thank you very much. And now I want to turn it over to Representative Espaillat.
Thank you. Yeah, this is an important, first of all, the American people spoke last night. And they spoke loudly about progressive politics, right? And so we should take notice of what was said yesterday at the voting booths. And there is no bill that I know of that's more progressive in its depth and in its all its ramifications than the DREAM Act. We're talking about 800,000 kids, bigger than any one of our districts, that came here. Many of them don't even speak the language of the countries that they were born in. They serve in the armed forces. They are teachers. They are workers. They are students. They are probably the best economic development program that our nation needs. And so this is important. And having a priority, having a face and a priority is important. For far too long, other issues, just as meritorious, were put as priorities, untouchable in many cases. Says, we got to do this, A, B, C. It must be done. It is a priority. We have to rush to do it because if we don't, the world will fall. Well, listen, this is a priority for us, a very important priority for us. To some degree, it identifies who we are as people and as representatives. And so we're here to say they need our votes for the budget. If there's no clean DREAM Act in the budget, we're not voting for it. Simple as that. Estamos diciendo que si no está el acto de sueños en el presupuesto, solo limpio como debe de estar, no vamos a votar por el presupuesto. Ellos podrán conseguir sus votos entre la bancada republicana o a lo mejor entre los mismos demócratas, pero estos demócratas que estamos aquí decimos que no vamos a votar por ese presupuesto. Y le decimos a nuestros colegas demócratas que esto es muy importante para nosotros. Y como nosotros también tenemos la gallardía de subir en tiempos difíciles, apoyar otros proyectos de leyes que son importantes para otros grupos, este es el momento para apoyar el DREAM Act. Y le decimos que no al presupuesto.
Congressman Ellison.
Thank you. As members of Congress, we represent communities, we represent neighborhoods. There's people all of us have come to know over the course of years. And so when we stand in front of you, we're not just operating on some policy. I think all of us have the story of a person that we know. And one of the people who I know is a young woman whose name I'm not going to mention here. Let's just call her Carla. And she's not a kid. She is a dreamer, but she's not a kid. She actually has a husband and a child. And when Sessions came forth to say we're rescinding the deferred arrivals for this DACA recipients, when he said he was going to rescind that program, I got a call. And I learned that my friend Carla was talking to her friend to sign a document so that her child, if she is snatched out of this country, will have a guardian because her child is a citizen. This is a woman who works hard every day, who not only contributes to the community, to the economy, to every aspect of life, who is as American as anyone I have ever met except for some papers. She was, yes, very young when she got here, but she's an adult person now, and she is making an indispensable contribution to my community, and I need her to be here or wherever she wants to be. It is a shame and a sin and a moral failure for anyone to conditionalize the DREAM Act to prevent her from becoming, getting the status that she deserves. And I will not vote for anything other than a clean DREAM Act. I have to have a clean DREAM Act to vote for her, for Carla, for her child, and for 800,000 other people who this country should be standing up for.
Thank you, Keith. Grace?
Thank you. Most of what I wanted to say has been said, but we must remember that these young people have no country that they know as their own except the United States. They've been educated here, they have jobs here, they're students, and they're contributing to our economy, and yet we're kicking them out simply because the Republican Party decides they don't want to pass a Clean DREAM Act. And I am one of the signatories because I will vote against the continuing resolution until in such a time as a Clean DREAM Act is followed. Now, we must say that the Dreamers will be able to have, under Lucille's Roybal DREAM Act, able to become citizens someday. Well, what are they afraid of? Afraid that these people are going to vote against them when they become citizens? They ought to be thankful that these people are engaged in the political process and can contribute at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you. Jan, Congressman Schakowsky?
Thank you.
Please.
First, let me just thank my dear friend, also from Illinois, Luis Gutierrez. I'm Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky from the 9th District, one of the most diverse districts, I think, in the country. And I do believe that there was a message on immigration last night at the polls. I think that people went to the polls across this country to reject the policies of division and bigotry. And long before then, an overwhelming majority of Americans, and that's Republicans and Democrats alike, had repeatedly expressed support for the Dreamers. So actually, I am hoping that the results of last night's election may change not only some hearts, but some votes here in the Congress, that there are some of the members on the Republican side of the aisle that may think twice and want to join us. And let's remember that in November of 2010, the DREAM Act did pass the House of Representatives, and we should do the same thing. We've all heard from businesses and universities and constituent after constituent telling us the need for a DREAM Act, the pain that a lack of that right to be able to be free from the fear of deportation is wreaking on them and their families and on communities. And I'm in conversation with Dreamers from across my district, and I've seen that pain that is so evident. And so we can't let these young people down, 800,000 of them. We have a choice. We can either embody the promise of our country that I think was spoken about last night, that we're a proud land of opportunity, open to anyone willing to work hard and join our cause, and that we can be remembered as the Congress who, though we don't want to be remembered as the Congress who forgot what America is all about. So the choice is clear. Democrats have been unequivocal. Congressman Gutierrez has led us fearlessly, and we should not back down. I just want to end with saying Dreamers are America's children. They are part of America, and we will never stop fighting for them. We will never forget them and their families. Thank you.
Congressman Gallegos from Arizona.
Thank you. Yesterday we heard something very clear. Trump and Trumpism is a loser. If you are a Republican and you are in a swing district and you want to have any fighting chance next year, join us in helping us pass the DREAM Act. This bill is bipartisan. This bill is supported by more than 60% of the population in this country. This bill is popular. If you want to step away from the politics that has just taken down most of the GOP in Virginia and other parts of the country, this is your opportunity. This is your opportunity to show that you are independent from Trump and Trump ideology, and that you're willing to protect 800,000 people and their families. This is your opportunity. We, as a Democratic caucus, are making it very clear that it is our priority. That is our priority in terms going forward, and whether this government, when the CR comes, whether it will have our support or not. But there is an opportunity for that, for our friends on the other side to join us and make a positive message about where they want this country to be going. Thank you.
Thank you. Congresswoman Barragan, please.
Thank you. I just want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues. I think the bottom line is we want the DREAM Act. We want protections for DACA recipients. And I've spent the last several weeks talking to my colleagues from the other side of the aisle who tell me they want protections as well for DACA recipients. And it's trying to get those folks to come on to the DREAM Act, or to get them to push their leadership to get a vote on DACA protections, to get a vote on the DREAM Act. Now, my understanding is that the Republicans have indicated that they're going to hold a press conference to say that they support DACA protections that will be coming up in the next day or so. Now, this is from some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who have mentioned this to me. I think this would be a good opportunity for them to come forward and to say they support the DREAM Act. And what's really happening with the underlying issue right now here is the timing. We want protections before the end of the year. And so it's a great opportunity for them to step up and to say, we agree that there should be a fix before the end of the year, that it is unjust that we are allowing dreamers to live every day in a state of fear and anxiety of what's going to happen next. And so I remain optimistic and hopeful that we can hear this message. I will and maybe sometimes I put a lot of faith in my Republican colleagues, but I believe that we have the votes there from my discussions from members on the other side of the aisle. And so I think that the issue right now is really about timing. We want a clean bill. We would like to see it before we ever see any kind of year-end spending bill. Now, I will tell you, I was a little surprised today when I spoke to some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who said they would be fine if you attached DACA protections to an omnibus bill. So I have been more surprised every single day in conversations, but I think it tells you one thing. I think it tells you that there really is overwhelming bipartisan support to provide protections for DACA recipients, and the DREAM Act is that vehicle, and so we will continue to push that and fight for that before the end of the year. Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to leave it there and bring you back into the digital newsroom. I'm Molly Nevola here. Thanks for joining us on the stream. If you're part of our channel, and if you're not, you can be part of our channel. Click that red button that says subscribe to watch us. We're going to have more coverage, of course, on all our digital platforms. Fox5DC.com is our website, and then, of course, Twitter, Instagram, everything we update throughout, and the evening shows will be on as well. We'll have Tom Fitzgerald, who's down in Richmond, covering more of Ralph Northam, the new governor-elect in Virginia, so lots of politics today, and try to bring you the varied stuff. Remember, we always try to keep it really relevant, really in the moment, live and breaking events first coming at you, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow for our coverage of Kingdom of Colors, the brand new exhibit that opens for the media tonight, so a special sneak peek for us down at Art Tech House, the cool digital art museum installation down in Southwest DC. So I'll be down there with our social media editor to get more coverage of that. All right, y'all, we'll see you tomorrow, same time. Don't forget to join us and check out this gorgeous picture of autumn in DC. Here's the White House as we leave you on this kind of cool and cloudy day. We'll see you tomorrow.